To order at 7:05 p.m. We'll now move into our first order of business, which is hearing from representatives to the ASUC. So I'd like to welcome our UCPD representative, Sergeant Joey Williams, to talk to us this week. Maybe? Yes, no? There he is. Okay. Cool.
Can you guys hear me? Am I on?
No. I don't think you're on.
Or is it just low volume? Low volume. Yeah. All right. Good evening, all. How are you? Not bad. Okay, it's been a pretty good week. Thefts are down again. We only had 5 bike thefts this week, 2 laptops and 2 phones. So it was like, can't hear me at all, huh? Can you hear me now? It's really low. Yeah, I said thefts are down again. Good for us. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, all right. There were 5 bike thefts this week, 2 laptops and 2 phones. There was nothing else to report, so it was a really good week for us. One of the things I wanted to talk about real quick, I know that there's a group that's talking about a phone app. Anybody here familiar with that? That there's a group that's approached us a couple of times and talked about a phone app for the students. Whenever something like that happens, I'm sure they're going to be presented at some point. If you guys could refer them to us, because there's a particular thing that we look for, and one of the things is it has to be free. There should be no charge to students. Another thing is it has to be linked directly to 911, which is rare because a lot of phone apps that are out there are supposed to be for safety, goes through the internet through different channels, but never makes it to 911 unless somebody is specifically monitoring that system. And many of them are also connected to the internet. So if there is a power outage or something like that, you get no use of your phone app. So I don't know when it's coming up because somebody dropped me a line and said, hey, are you aware that this is coming up, that somebody's going to be presenting about a phone app? Make sure you guys refer them to us because we have specific protocols, not because we want to be the keeper of the app system. We just want to make sure that if you're relying on something for your safety, we can check to make sure it's actually just that and not some vendor trying to promote a product. Because if you guys are unaware, I will say that on a yearly basis, we get no less than a few hundred companies trying to present to us, to present as an app, to present to you guys to make money. And we're kicking them all out left and right because we go through a very extensive protocol for your safety to make sure they actually do what they purport to do. One of the main things is we've tested, because we actually would like to have an app for you guys, but one of the things that we tested, when you go in a lot of our buildings, you get no reception. So guess what doesn't work? Your app, right? There are also some that they don't actually call 911. Those were the biggest ones. Like there's an internal system that's monitored by the company that sells the app, and we've tried them for accuracy, and the response times, some of the fastest response times are like 5 minutes. I'm thinking if you have to call 911 through your app and you have to wait 5 minutes, it's probably not a good thing. But just keep that in mind. So I don't know when it's coming up, but it should be coming up soon. The last thing I have is Vice President Pack will probably talk to you guys later about our open house. It'll be nice to have you guys in our house. I'm always in your house. And it's basically for you guys, it's almost like a mixer just to get to know you. We'll have food, and we would like to present anything you would like to see with inside UCPD and how it actually works and how it pertains to you guys. So send that to him. He will talk more about it later. But by all means, I can't wait to have you guys at my house for once. And we can just kind of hang out and get to know one another better. That's all I have. If anybody has any questions for me, please raise your hand.
Do we have any questions for our speaker? All right, if there are none, we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll move on now to the ASUC auxiliary report. Welcome, Chris, for the auxiliary report. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chris Wong. I'll be standing in for Rob Jishikaufel this week. In staffing and hiring updates, this week and next, the ASUC Auxiliary and Student Affairs IT are hosting on-campus interviews for 2 IT positions that will be focused on completing the TPT report item concerning the upgrading and unification of the event planning services into a one-stop shop for students, student groups, campus, and the community. Event Services is also hiring. We are looking to hire 3 to 5 event staff. Interested students should please send your resume and class schedule to Monica Duran. Her email is moduran@berkeley.edu. In construction and facilities updates, it is an exciting time for the Lower Sproul project. The concrete slab for Eshelman is being poured over the next 2 weeks. This project is on schedule and on budget. Furniture stakeholders meetings will take place October 22nd and 23rd. Please contact Bahar Nawab if you have any questions. In terms of programs and services, the Green Initiative Fund last week, released the 2013-14 annual report available on their website, tgif.berkeley.edu. Highlights include the selection of 12 fall mini grants and 14 spring grants, awarding a total of $296,000 in new grant funding and creating 36 new student internships. Since its inaugural grant cycle in the spring of 2008, TGIF has awarded over $1.5 million in grants to 96 projects in the form of 84 spring grant awards and 12 fall mini grant awards. These grants have included the funding of 195 student sustainability internships. 53 TGIF projects have successfully concluded and 40 are currently in progress. Only 3 projects thus far have been discontinued. In addition, the TGIF has sent its coordinator and 4 students to the 2013 Association for Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education conference and gave a total of 5 presentations. Lastly, we just received 8 applications in the TGIF for the October mini grants program. Additionally, in programs, the Multicultural Greek Council is open for expansion to new organizations. Applications are available on the MCGC CalLink website and are due October 24th. Upcoming events, Friday, October 25th, please save the date. There will be an event on the northwest stair of Lower Sproul Plaza. Come celebrate the opening of the northwest stair. This is a milestone accomplishment within Lower Sproul redevelopment project. The event will take place from 11:30 to 3 p.m. Other updates, the Organizational and Governance Committee of the CSSB will be reviewing the current commercial activities agreement and looking to rewrite, streamline parts of it. Senators wishing to contribute thoughts or ideas should contact GJ Pepito or Bahar Nawab directly. And these are responses to previous week's questions. Last week, regarding speaker plaza reservations, please contact Event Services, who will work with athletics and UCPD to discuss event options. Due to construction, speaker plaza may not be recommended for events. It's not definite, but if you work with Event Services, they can get you a definite answer for your particular event. And to Senator Mullen, in response to your question, the Leadership Symposium presenters should be notified by this week as to their session times. Are there any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks. All right, returning to our agenda, we shouldn't have a report from the Commercial Student Services Board as there has not been a meeting since the last time a report was given, but we will move on to our Finance Officer's report. While Dennis is coming up, just as a reminder to everybody who is here as a member of the public, if you all are interested in making a public comment on a particular agenda item, we have public comment cards over there. So if you fill them out and give them to Lizzie, the Senate Vice Chair, she will call you up when it's time to give a public comment on that item.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Dennis, and I'm your Finance Officer. And if you can look into my written report in your folder, you will see what I have done this week, and basically I've put everything on there. So I authored week 6 budget bill, which is also in your folder right now. And I also met with EVP PAC, and we talked about the possible investment with our ASUC fundings, and also what we can do with CalLodge. And I plan on proposing a bill to terminate the operation of CalLodge by the end of this month. And yeah, that will be coming in the next 2 weeks. And I think that's basically it. Do you guys have any questions? Yes, no.
Any
maybe
questions,
so.
senators?
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thanks. Okay, so we'll now move on to guest announcements. If there's anyone else here who'd like to give a guest announcement, or if there's a member of the public who'd like to give a comment, now would be that time. Okay. Yes? Yeah. We are still 5 minutes ahead of the time at which we're supposed to give roll call, so let's move on briefly to approval of the minutes from October 2nd, 2013. The chair would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from October 2nd, 2013. Is there a motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you all. So we'll move on briefly then also to new business. We only have 3 bills for next week's meetings. I would propose that we assign bills 27 and 28 to the External and University Affairs Committee, as well as SB 29 to the Finance Committee, with no bills for Conrev right now, which is fine because you all still have appointments going on. Okay. All right, is there a motion to assign the bills?
I move to assign the bills to its appropriate committees.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any objections? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. I also would need a motion to approve the agenda for October 16th, 2013. Before we do that, though, are there any special orders that people would like to request for the October 16th meeting that we can add to the approval of the agenda now? No special orders? That's miraculous. Okay, so if there are no special orders that we need to add for the October 16th meeting, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the October 16th, 2013 meeting as it has been printed. Oh wait, I have a special order to request. From the Public Service Center, they would like to present on
I think I'm getting sick. What happens when you don't sleep? Just got over it. Maybe you know I'm sick.
I have no regrets.
I don't think so. So let's call it a special order from the Public Service Center. They've confirmed that they do want to give the special order on the 16th, and it may be about 1 or more projects. It's from Mike Bishop, for those of you, I mean, he came and spoke to us at Senate training, so you all know. So we have that amendment to the agenda for the 16th. Are there anything else we'd like to add or change for that agenda?
Quick question. I'm about to table this Ignite bill to next week, and I have a special order for today. So will that special order go along with it, or should I request a new one?
You would have to request a special order for next week.
Okay. Well, I move to request a special order for the Ignite bill, a bill in support of the Ignite campaign.
So we have Public Service Center and Ignite as amendments to the agenda for the 16th. Anything else you'd like to add or change about the agenda for the 16th? So with those proposed amendments, is there a motion for the approval of the 16th agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Great, it's been moved and seconded with the said amendments. Are there any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you all. Wow, that's incredible time. Before we move into executive officer reports, we have a mildly awkward 60-second period where we will wait for 7:20 so I can call roll.
We should tell jokes.
I had an 8 a.m. midterm.
Motion to sing. Motion to sing. Sorry, happy birthday.
Not yet. We only have a few seconds left.
I'm a quick singer.
Happy birthday. But like, yeah.
It's still 7:19 according to my clock.
Happy
All right, so now that it's time to call roll, thank you all for your patience as we endured that awkward not silence. Senator Chow. Present. Senator Chung. Present. Senator Feynman. Present. Senator Iwoma. Senator Kong. Senator Lee. Here. Senator Mohabbat. Senator Mullen. Senator Woche. Senator Pacheco. Senator Pandya. Senator Quinn. Present. Senator Rafi. Senator Shen. Senator Snon.
Here.
Senator Tan.
Present.
Senator Truax.
Present.
Senator Upadhyay Yula.
Here.
Senator Week.
Present.
Senator Wu. Perfect attendance, everyone. Wonderful. So let's move on then into executive officer reports and welcome President Pepito for her report. Okay, President Pepito has requested that I go first, so I will. So beyond the printed report that is included in your binder with all of the meetings and so forth that I've attended and things that my department has worked on, I do want to note a couple of things. So one change that we would like to make that Vice Chair Hennis and I spoke about in the way that we print the Senate binders in an effort to save paper is that we would like to not print all of the bill appendices for you, since it seems like people are not taking them home. So a lot of people are leaving them behind in the binders, and we're taking that as a sign that you all are not taking those with you. So what we'll probably end up doing now is printing most of the agenda packet the way that it is so that you all can have it here in front of the meeting. But for the finance bill appendices, can we get a show of hands for people who do take those with them? Okay. So would it be okay for the FICOM members if we continue to print them for you all, but not for the rest of Senate? Does that work for everyone? With the understanding that they're part of the agenda packet, anyone can see them when they're sent out via email. But so for Finance Committee senators, you would like us to continue to print them? Okay. Again, this is an effort to mitigate the amount of paper that we're using in the packets. So we do use reused paper when we can, but I've personally run out of my stockpile of reused paper. So with that, I also want to get a little bit of feedback from you on focus groups. So after talking with the directors of the departments in my office, they're wondering whether it would be easier for us to set up specific dates where there will be focus groups about things like the wiki, the student resource portal, or the Cal Lodge, or any number of other things. If we set dates in advance throughout the semester and then invite people to come, and then you all can help us promote those. Or if you'd like them to make an effort to connect with you individually so that you can do a day for your community to like have them at their meeting and talk for like 15 minutes or something. Is there a preference among senators?
The first way.
Okay, so it has been suggested, and I see people nodding enthusiastically. Is it the preference of the Senate that we would set up dates for focus groups throughout the semester, and with the understanding that we'll need your help to promote those in your communities so that everyone's input is heard in the process? Okay, so we'll move forward with that understanding. The last thing I want to get a little bit of feedback on to move forward is that, as Sergeant Williams mentioned earlier, we do want to have a time to go visit UCPD. The date is to be determined. It will not be the 23rd because of a conflicting event that UCPD has, but I will continue to work on dates for that. Basically, my proposal, based on speaking with UCPD about what their preference is and also trying to accommodate the Senate so that everybody is able to attend, it seems like our best option is to do it during the spot where we would normally have special orders. So we would recess at 8 p.m. or go into like some sort of special visit session at 8 p.m. and go to UCPD and then come back after some period of time. So they would give a presentation, they will provide food, which is very generous of them, and then we'll also mix briefly with the UCPD staffers, officers. So I am proposing that we allow 30 minutes total for the time we would be there. 15 minutes for a presentation-ish, and then 15 minutes-ish for socializing, mixing, getting food, and then walking time. So that would put it at like, I don't know, 40 to 50 minutes. We would be going back and forth from Sproul Hall. Moving a large group can sometimes be slow. Do we have a preference on a longer, shorter, different time? So we have it suggested that rather than doing 50 minutes, we would round up to an hour. So with the 10 minutes of walking time there and back, that would actually give us a total then of 40 minutes at UCPD. They need 15 minutes for a presentation. The remainder of that would be social mixer time. Does that sound good for everyone? Okay, so I'm going to move forward with that understanding and find, yeah, question? Senator Shen.
Hello. Just to confirm, is this next week at the beginning of Senate, or?
No, it'll be at 8 p.m. when special
8 p.m.
orders would normally be, and what we'll do is we'll try to put this far enough in advance that we don't have special orders scheduled during that time. So it could be the weekend after the 23rd, or maybe the first week of November, or something like that. Something that works for both us and for UCPD, but my goal would be that we would do it in an evening when we have no other special orders, and since we have 2 for next week already, next week would probably be an awkward time for us to do that. So with the plan as articulated, can I just get nods if everyone is okay, a consensus on that? Now, the last thing that I need in order to make this work, because UCPD is really interested in understanding what you all want to know about how UCPD works, can I get a commitment from each of you to email me one thing that you would like to know about how UCPD works by next Wednesday's meeting, so that I can forward that to UCPD and that can inform their presentation? Just something that you'd like to know about UCPD. It can be anything. Great. So with that said, that sums up the sort of impromptu section of my report. The rest of it is written. If you have questions about what's written in my report and the more administrative-y type meetings that we've had over the last week, please feel free to talk to me offline, email me, text me, etc. That's all I have right now. And so if, do we have questions? Yes, Senator Mullen.
Oh, I'm sorry. My question was regarding actually the exec report. So currently in the way that Jordan's putting together the agenda packet, we don't actually get them till now. Is there any way we could actually get them with the agenda, even if it's with the agenda for next week when he sends it out? Because I know you turn in the exec reports on Tuesday, or?
It's supposed to be Monday night, yeah.
Monday night, okay.
Yeah, have you all tried looking at the reports on CalLink? Do you have access to that? We submit them to the Senate page, so in theory you should be able to view them. If it's not the case that you can view them, we will definitely look into that and I'll make sure that you all get that access privilege.
Okay.
And then yes, we'll suggest to Jordan that they be included in the packet. I think that you're right, it should be included for the purposes of transparency and posting the packet online.
Okay.
So Lizzie and I will talk to Jordan about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, other questions? Great, let's welcome President Pepito.
Whoa. Okay. Good evening, Senators. So I kind of have a lot to talk about tonight and a lot to add aside from what was already included in my exec report. Some highlights from what's written in front of you. So last week we had a meeting, a preliminary meeting to talk about with Vice Chancellor Gabor Basri, along with other student leaders, to talk about the Multicultural Advisory Committee that's getting formed. It's looking like that's going to turn into a student of color advisory committee for the campus. Again, it's still a preliminary meeting, so now that we've kind of fleshed out a little bit about the charge, the next meeting we're going to talk more about structure, and there are different students involved in that along with staff and whatnot, so I'll keep you all updated on that. My standing with Chancellor Dirks last week was really productive. It was the day after the emergency response protocol, and I mentioned part of it last week at Senate. So moving forward, I've already been in contact with Vice Chancellor Ron Coley, or Associate Vice Chancellor Ron Coley, who's going to be taking over the review process for emergency protocol and procedures when it comes to response on campus. So I'll be working with staff and those folks to make sure that student opinion is included in how communication with students should look like in the event of an emergency on campus. The next fireside chat is going to be with the undocumented student community as request from the Chancellor himself. Part of the reason for that was because President Napolitano's visit was going to be November 15th. So update on that. We heard from UCOP as of yesterday, and they have postponed our visit. I then immediately emailed the Council of Presidents to figure out if it was just our campus getting postponed or if it was all the campuses. It's looking like it's only our campus. So we're trying to figure out why we are getting postponed. We didn't get a reason, like administration didn't, students didn't. So we're trying to figure that out. November is just like really crazy for us personally at Cal because Chancellor Dirks' inauguration is November 8th, and then Napolitano's visit was going to be the 15th, and then we all go on break for Thanksgiving and then winter break later, and that like after the few weeks after. So we're afraid that we might get pushed back to next semester, which wouldn't necessarily be acceptable. So we're trying to figure out what's going on with that. Okay, so if you all didn't notice, Bancroft Clothing used to have their sign up that said student store. As of like a couple weeks ago, Nolan and I had directed Greg Brock, our attorney, to send a cease and desist letter to them because it was in direct competition with the ASUC Auxiliary ASUC bookstore or Cal Student Store. And so the letter worked, and they covered the sign as of last Friday, right in time for homecoming. So we don't have to take legal action or talk about it anymore. Additionally, some things that aren't on the report. So I've been approached by Vice Chancellor John Wilton and Dan Mogloff, who wants to do like an athletics finances information session. So that's going to be next Tuesday, the 15th at 6:30. I need around 3 to 5 student reps, I'm hoping senators, to go to the information session. Free pizza will be provided. If you're interested in going, shoot me a text or an email. First come, first serve. I'm going to send Dan the names at the end of the week. The idea is a lot of it is in response to the media attention that the stadium has been getting as of lately for the financial model. Originally, that was going to be the focus, but now we're looking at holistically and more broadly what the financial model for athletics is for better understanding and for better communication with students. Additionally, UCPD is doing their lieutenant search. Right now, there's going to be interviews the week of the 21st. If you're interested in being involved in the interview process, again, please message me, email me, or text me. Senator Iwoma, Chief Bennett mentioned that she was interested in having you participate again, as we participated in the captain search last time. But this is definitely not just closed to Senator Iwoma, so if any of you are interested, please just let me know. Remember that interviews for positions are really time demanding, so if you have some flexibility in your schedule for the week of the 21st, there's 5 interviews. It'd be great if you could help me out so I don't have to go to all of them. Second to last, I had my standing with Vice Chancellor Gabor Basri today also, and I mentioned the ACEs stuff that's been going on as of lately, and a lot of the movement or the effort that's been happening by some senators and other students to make sure ACEs is sustained. I have an update on that. If you're interested in knowing more, please talk to me. And then CACSIF proposals. So CACSIF proposals for immediate spring funding one time is next Monday. If you are submitting a proposal, please be cognizant that you have to submit it through either me, AAVP Jameson, or SAO Semenov. Student proposals have to be submitted by one of the ASUC execs who are sitting on the CACSIF committee. And the students have been meeting every week to talk about the potential proposals that are coming, so that way we can make sure we know how to advocate for them, or how we can really negotiate the proposals within the committee. So if you have one or you're submitting one and I don't know about it yet, or the other 2 execs don't know about it yet, please let us know. It's really difficult to have conversations about the potential student proposals and then find out about other ones that are coming in later. I want to be able to make sure that I'm advocating for your proposal in the right way, and so I can't do that if I don't know about it until really last minute. So please just talk to me about it. I think that's all I have. Do I have any questions?
Senator Feynman?
Yeah, can you remind us what time the athletic
October 15th at 6:30. Location is TBD. But if you're interested, again, just like text me or email me in so I know. First come, first serve, like I said.
Other questions for President Pepito? Senator Iwoma?
Hey, how you doing? It says you met with Amanda Riddle regarding
With
like
what?
It says you met with Amanda Rydell or Riddle.
Yeah.
Regarding like climbing the ASUC and relationship building. What does she have to say about that?
So that's our advisor, as you know, in the Lead Center. That was a conversation just about how to better relationship building among the execs and the senators and between both bodies, and just how things have been going as of lately, if folks are feeling supported, what I need to do as president and what also the Lead Center needs to do as partners to really make sure that work's still being done and that conversations are still being had, relationships are still being built. It was just more of a check-in than anything else. And then really, how much time do I have left? EVP Pack? How much?
1 minute and 15 seconds.
Okay, so really quickly, I forgot I was going to talk about this. So student fees, or potential student fees for this year. So as I mentioned in my exec report a couple weeks ago, the Student Fee Referenda Committee met like around 2 or 3 weeks ago. And right now, what's happening is by the end of this month, we're going to have concepts be submitted to the committee, not for approval, but just to start conversations. We've already been having conversations. Max, the GA president, was kind of taking over, figuring out how we would do a health and wellness fee if we were going to do it again. He did a temperature check with the delegates at their last meeting, and the delegates don't really, or would be okay with not pursuing a health and wellness center fee this year, so that way we can really look at other ways to fund it. There's just a lot of issues going around with like being able to do another construction project on campus right now. So we're thinking about taking a different route of figuring out whether or not the campus can contribute or figuring out whether or not we can do fundraising for it. So it looks like the health and wellness fee is going to get put on hold for this year. The other two options, just to be transparent, we're thinking about implementing an additional ASUC fee that would increase the ASUC budget, so that way we can provide more funding for student groups and general ASUC programming. If you have more questions about that, you can ask me, or EVP Pack. And then secondly is a possible student technology fee. We're in the process of negotiating that right now. I need to check in with some folks about it. But the technology fee would largely be modeled after CACSIF. We would want the money to go to the ASUC and then have a committee of students be in charge of allocating that money out. A portion of it would probably go to software, and we're trying to figure out how much the fee would have to be in order to do so.
Okay, so if there are questions at this point, we would need to extend time. But if there are not...
That's all I had.
Okay. All right, thank you, President Pito. Okay, yeah, let's hear a report from our External Affairs VP.
Okay, make sure that the audio picks it up. Hi, everybody. So nice to see you all. You all look kind of, okay. So most of what I've been doing is on my exec report. I'll kind of elaborate on probably the more interesting things. First of all, I'll just start with event reminders. I already emailed you all and I've Facebook harassed you all, but there is a public meeting in this room tomorrow about the retrofit ordinance for the city. This is a really unique opportunity because normally the City of Berkeley meetings are held at like senior centers or public libraries that tend to be somewhat inaccessible for students. So that's why I decided to partner with the city to hold this public meeting to ensure that students would be able to come. So students that do live in, thank you, the students that do live in soft story buildings should have gotten a postcard letting them know that the meeting was occurring in here. That being said, we've also been doing Facebook and CalLink outreach, and I'm going to be passing out some flyers. So if you all live in soft story buildings or know people who live in soft story buildings or just know people who are passionate about this issue, I'd encourage them to come speak or just kind of come to see what the City of Berkeley politics and public meetings tend to be like, which are really interesting. The other thing is the Student of Color Conference applications are still out, and we are accepting those until Sunday night. So a lot of people are kind of like waiting because the questions are sort of long, but please be sure to get your applications. You all do need to apply for some of the questions. If you just say like, Safina, come on, like, okay. But do fill out the application so I know to count you in our total count, because that'll be good to make sure that you're going. And right now our number of students that we're taking is 85, which is pretty huge and a pretty big delegation for Berkeley. So we're really excited. And we're also doing a lot of scrambling fundraising. So if you have any ideas to help us with that, that would be helpful too. So this past weekend, I was in Riverside for the UCSA board meeting. It was a really productive meeting. One thing that I went into the meeting really wanting to make sure is that we finally voted on the demands of the undocumented community for Janet Napolitano. We've been tabling those and pushing those off for too long, so I made sure that we voted on them, and they passed, which is really exciting. They were in the form of the demands that the undocumented student community and ally leaders presented to President Napolitano when they met with her. So they're slightly different from the ones that we passed as an ASUC. That being said, I did present our resolution to the board as was mandated in the bill and asked that they make those a priority. So those were finalized like an hour ago, the text of them, so I'll be sure to send out the resolutions. We also divided the resolution into two resolutions, one being with the demands and the second one specifically about the transparency of the process. So what we did is not only research what that process looked like, but also make policy recommendations for how it could be changed. And so I think it's a good resolution. We basically tried to be as creative as possible to get more student voice in that process. So I'll send that out to you all. I mean, I'd be happy to hear comments, or if you want to be involved in the implementation, that would be awesome as well. And then, so I met with President Napolitano yesterday for the first time. That was her second meeting with students. I met with her as part of the UCSA leadership. It was a really interesting meeting. So as far as the agenda of the meeting, we talked about UCSA structure, what we looked like, where our power came from, how we represented students. We talked about the UCSA campaigns for the year. I was pleasantly surprised that she was already familiar with some of them. We then touched back on the concerns that students had presented about her, and we wanted to hear kind of what her responses were, and if she had comments about some of the concerns that students had raised. We also reiterated the demands of the undocumented community that were already presented to her and ask again that she make a firm commitment on all of them. She still said that she'll be sending them to her staff to look over, but did repeat that she publicly supported the Trust Act because of those demands and because the undocumented student community met with her. So that was good to know that she was listening to students. Then we had a series of concerns or asks for her, mostly that she recommit to the mission of the UC being accessible, affordable, and of quality. And then we asked her for her feedback about like innovative ways that she planned to do that. Afterwards, we presented our budget demands for the UC. The most interesting ones and the primary ones are that she fund recruitment and retention centers across the UC, specifically at UC Merced, which does not have one, and that she fund those $10 million. We also asked that she fund student services. A lot of the services that we provide to students, we believe the UC should also be providing to students, so we asked that they prioritize student services as well as professional development programs for graduate students. And I'm happy to elaborate on any of those. Then we asked her how she foresaw our relationship in the future. She committed to having quarterly meetings with the UCSA leadership, and we got her to soft commit, so that means she didn't say that she would for sure do this, but she kind of alluded that she would also accompany us on lobby visits to utilize her political clout at the Capitol. Specifically, she also mentioned that she was interested in looking at Prop 13 reform and CMED and an oil extraction tax. She was also very receptive to the idea of fossil fuel divestment and expressed that she was excited that that was one of UCSA's campaigns for the year, and she was she thought that it was a good time to bring that issue up and that she looked at it favorably. And then the other thing that I talked to her about, I had heard that the UC Berkeley visit was going to be delayed. And so she said that she is definitely working to get it done this semester, so it will not be next semester, and it will probably be in the month of November sometime. So I'll keep you all updated. Myself and DJ will keep you updated about the progress of that, but she did say that it would be this semester. I guess the last thing that is important about that meeting is her staff in the room were her chief of staff, her student affairs person, her like student affairs team, and I've begun establishing a relationship with them so that if you all have resolutions that you want me to send to the Office of the President, I'm the only external VP who got a letter back personally from the President, so we can continue to have a lot of influence in the Office of the President this year. So please, if you want to talk, political advantages with working of the President, if you want to talk what issues she's most susceptible to, if you want to try and arrange meetings, or if you want access to her staff, I'd be happy to help arrange that for you all. And I think that's one of the nice things about Berkeley getting more involved with UCSA this year is we definitely have more access than we've had in the past. So please utilize that, utilize me for that. So I'm also going to pass around these flyers, take one or a couple for the public meeting. And I yield to questions.
Is there any questions for our EAVP, Senator Lovett?
Hi, thank you for being here. Can you speak to the soft story buildings, particularly what they are, and then also how students can know if they live in one of those buildings?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there is a soft story registration with the City of Berkeley, so you can check if your building is or is not a soft story building. I can send out the link to find that information. If you are not sure and can't find it online, I will help you look it up, and that's the same for any of your constituents. I'll maybe put together kind of like a Facebook post that helps you help people find out whether or not they live in soft story buildings. But soft story buildings are buildings that are built in a way that makes them most susceptible to damage and breaking and falling to pieces if there were to be an earthquake of a certain magnitude. They tend to be the buildings that require retrofitting, and they tend to be ones that require a lot of money to retrofit. So this ordinance specifically is working to address soft story buildings, especially soft story buildings that house multiple tenants. But basically it relates back to seismic safety and whether or not your building can withstand a certain magnitude of earthquake.
Other questions? Senator Wheat? We have about 1 minute left, by the way.
This doesn't have to do with anything you reported on in your exec report, but I received an email today from City Council member Chris Worthington talking about how the City Council is thinking about changing the appeal process for second responses. Yeah. So I was wondering if you had any information on that and if you could touch upon that.
Yeah, so I'll present on that next week in more detail. It's something that they're considering, but not something that we're organizing around quite yet. But I'll keep you updated either by email or in person, but I don't know enough yet. Yeah.
Cool. 33 seconds left. Any last questions? Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
So next I'd like to recognize someone from the Academic Affairs VP's office. I believe Chief of Staff Lazarus is here. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Andreas Lazarus. I'm the Chief of Staff for the AAVP office. I'm a little congested, I apologize. So in the past week, there have been a number of things going on. Sorry, I'm reading off my phone. So last week, there was a meeting with the Public Service Center director to further advance the conversation around public service, particularly at non-funded university programs. Non-university funded programs such as Build, ACEs, and alternative breaks, and how the AAVP can be involved in those. There's also, we've been developing the planning for the FPF banquet. And additionally, Valerie's been finalizing a single fall CACSIF proposal and deferring the transfer program to the spring cycle. In a little bit more detailed news, grants committees have been filled with senators, so thank you for serving on those committees. And interviews have begun, so we've been accepting applications to all of the grants. And unfortunately, unlike years past, we have a shortage of MCF applicants, which is the Multicultural Fund. So if you do have any student communities that you think would benefit from the MCF, please do reach out to them, because this money is available, but not many people have applied for it as they have in the past. So it's a good time to apply if you do need funding. Additionally, Academic Senate representatives have finalized their monthly meetings, and they'll be institutionalizing a student summary review process with individual committee chairs to expedite the release of minutes in the form of student-authored summaries. So in the past, minutes have taken a very long time to be released to the public, the formal minutes, and so in conversations last year with the former chair, who was Christina Maslach of the Academic Senate, we were able to receive her approval and the current chair's approval, Elizabeth Deacon, to create a review process in which students write their own summaries of the meetings, and through conversations with the chair approves them, and basically gives a review of what should be excluded and what should be included, and those can be then released on the Academic Senate student site that I created in addition, or with some students from the GA last semester, and they'll be released for public use by students and faculty and staff. Additionally, there have been standing meetings with the Academic Senate chair have been finalized, and the first meeting will be to discuss the institutionalizing syllabus review process for inclusion of health, wellness, and academic resources. So this is something that has been in part of many conversations, specifically in the Mental Health Advisory Committee, which I serve on. And we were able to get support from the Academic Senate chair to take this on as a process within the Academic Senate to include resources and have a campus-wide review process of having faculty members include these resources on their syllabus, and if they're not included, then to have them revised and included. Additionally, textbook scholarship infrastructure. The textbook scholarship was something that was created last year by several senators, and specifically Senator Vertiz, and the infrastructure is being built after a meeting with Jordan and Rob in the past several weeks. So the scholarship will be released in the spring, and we're gathering a collection of senators to form a review committee. So I'll send out an email. Valerie may have mentioned this in the past exec report, but I'll send out an email with the bylaws of the bill, which is Title 33, and it covers the textbook scholarship and basically the breakdown of how this is awarded and who it's awarded to. And so we're looking for a committee of 4 senators to serve on this scholarship review. And so basically you'll be reading applications and selecting with several other students the recipients of the scholarship. So I'll send out an email. If you have any interest, just off the bat, you can send me an email, aavpchief@asuc.org. But I'll send out a more detailed email so you can get a better understanding of what it is. Also, conversations have begun to join the AAVP with what's called Berkeley Connect as a form of continuing what was known in the past as UGMP, which is the Undergraduate-Graduate Mentorship Program, and which is basically what it sounds like, which is pairing graduate students with undergrads. And that's been something that's been done historically by the AAVP, but there are several campus programs in existence that we've seen might benefit from including the AAVP and the ASUC in general. And we've been in touch with Senator Kong about this. And so also conversations beginning with GIGS, which is a program called Getting into Graduate School through the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, with the possibility of including the ASUC to better structure services towards student needs with student input. So those are the updates. So if you have any questions, yes.
Yes, Senator Lee and then Senator Rafi.
Can you talk a little bit more about the FPF planning and what that entails within the program and consolidation of it, like within the banquet?
Unfortunately, I don't have that many details on this. This was sent to me by Valerie, and that was all I received. So I will forward this request to her, and then she can get back to you with more information.
Okay, and then just a follow-up question with that.
Mm-hmm.
With this report, I know that it's due on Mondays or Tuesdays, and you had a lot of additions to the report. Is there a reason why I didn't make it onto the report, or when does Valerie submit the report, or is there a better way that we can have more of the information on the report?
Yes, so all of the additions were made by me in the past 40 minutes after I was told to give this executive report. So I can play a bigger role in submitting this executive report. That might solve our problems.
I'll just add one note too. The executive reports are required for the previous week. So like when I give my executive report, it's for the previous weeks, like Monday through that Sunday. And so we also may or may not update you on things that have happened this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because that's not really what goes in that week's report. So something to consider. Senator Ruffy?
The MCF scholarship. The MCF scholarships, are those for current students or for freshman applicants?
They're for, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Are they for incoming freshmen or for current students?
Oh, they're for all students, students and student groups. It's just multicultural community fund. So if you believe that what you're doing falls into the concept of multicultural community, then you can apply regardless of what year you are.
Senator Pacheco? Any other questions? Great, thanks so much.
No problem.
Okay, so let's move on to hearing a report from our Student Advocate's Office.
Hello, everybody. So a couple of things that I didn't include in the written report. The Bank Consolidation Committee meeting, which we've been telling you folks about for the last couple of weeks, had another meeting last Tuesday, and they're beginning to really hone in on the specifics of the type of bank products that will be included in the RFP. So if you have any feedback on that, please use the spreadsheet that my Chief Rishi circulated at the last meeting. So that's a great opportunity if you're interested in having a voice on that. Our office is continuing to get a lot of cases. Our caseworkers are usually double staffed on cases, and it's been a pretty busy year so far in that respect. We just completed training for our 10 new hires, and we're really excited about that. This is a good pace. That means that they'll have 2 months this semester to shadow cases and then begin to take their own cases. In addition to the traditional training that we do, we are trying out 2 new things this semester as well, which include a mediation and restorative justice practices training, which we'll be hosting with Professor Julie Shackford Bradley from Bolt Law School this month. And that'll be very good for our caseworkers in terms of best practices as to how to mediate conversations between faculty and students or staff and students. In addition, we are in the process of getting together a sensitivity training on sexual assault trauma with some folks from Baywar. So both of those new things that we're trying out this semester should be good for our casework expertise. Additionally, I am sitting on the Police Review Board, which is finally up and running and will be meeting in the coming weeks. This is a body that handles complaints against UCPD officers and also writes status reports on UCPD's practices over the course of the year, and occasionally writes specialized reports related to specific instances such as like the 2011 protests. So it's good that that's up and running since it has not been functional in more than a year, and that was due to a lot of pushing from myself. And the Fine Aid office has, we've made official our representatives to the focus group, which will be giving input as to how best to redesign the financial aid website. 2 caseworkers from our financial aid division will be sitting on that and providing their feedback. Lastly, I will mention that our office is looking at Cal Student Central and their practices in terms of how they're helping out students and trying to see what recommendations we can make to them in terms of being more efficient and providing the best possible service. So we will be circulating a survey shortly that we created, soliciting feedback on that. If you all could please forward that to your constituents, that would be much appreciated as we try to collect data for this project. And those are all the additional points I have, so I'll take any questions.
Any questions for our student advocate? Senator Wu?
Hello. Yeah, I was just wondering, did you receive any complaints or cases because of the power outage?
Sure. So as many of you know, we solicited or we asked for individuals who were asked to continue taking examinations or doing some kind of assignments during the blackout to reach out to us. There have been a few students that have reached out to us. I cannot, speak to the particulars of what classes those were due to confidentiality reasons. But as it stands, what we're doing is we've reached out to those students. We're still pending responses from them. But our strategy moving forward is that if these students feel that if these students really want to move forward with this, we'll try to arrange opportunities to retake those tests for them. And if that's what they want, that's what we'll work for. Otherwise, we could write some kind of statement to the department heads of the departments that we're doing this. But we haven't really received follow-up from those students yet. So we'll be following up with them and seeing what exactly their objectives are or what they.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Great, thank you, Tim.
Sure.
Okay, so we have many people here to be appointed, I believe. What I'm going to request is that when we make the motion to approve somebody for appointment, that they write down their name and provide it to Mr. Litwack for the purposes of recording. We're in an interesting position right now with appointments, which I will, I guess, explain after we hear the proposed appointments. So the way that appointments are supposed to work is that we announce the appointments at one meeting and we approve them at the following after a series of verifications take place. So I think what I would ask is that starting with President Pepito's appointments, that we announce all of the appointments now, and then I'll have a brief conversation about the dilemma that we're in because of getting pushed back a week by the shutdown.
Okay, hi everyone again. I want to formally nominate Darren Wallace as the potential perspectives director for this year. I understand that you all need a week to still think about it. I just forwarded his resume out to the Senate listserv, so when you get access to your computers or if you want to check it on your phone, you can do so. But I highly believe in Darren's capabilities to run perspectives this year, and I will go ahead and let him say a few words and answer any questions if you all have any.
Thanks, DJ. Hi, everybody. My name is Darren Wallace. So during my time here at Cal, I've been tremendously involved in the Black community and the Multicultural Coalition. As a social retention coordinator of the Black Recruitment and Retention Center, I planned many programs on campus that aimed at the active social retention of my brothers and sisters and the enrichment of the Black community at Cal. These programs were the Welcome Black Barbecue, the Harvest, and Bridges Senior Weekend, which aims to basically bring up all newly admitted high school students from different backgrounds and engage with them for a weekend and make sure that they SIR and come to Cal. I also worked as the director of SWAG for the African Black Coalition Conference, which brought over 800 Black students UC-wide to build kinship and discuss the Black experience on all UC campuses, along with certain Cal states that were invited. What else did I do? Also while being an intern at the Multicultural Community Center, I worked as the committee lead for the Community-Based Media Committee, and I still do, which handled all of the social networking for the space. Within the student-fought, student-won, and student-led space, I learned more about solidarity and the deep history of resistance that links communities of colors on this campus, such as the TWLF movement, whose 45th anniversary is this year. I also engaged in original programming by creating the Threaded Souls Project, a project which focuses on the intersectionalities of our identities and how we express our experiences through the clothes we wear. After working in all these spaces, I moved into the African American themed house, which was at the time predominantly white. The mission of the house was to offer a safe space for Black students in the co-op system. Seeing that it wasn't fulfilling those needs, 5 others and myself moved in to reclaim the house for the community. Okay, so as executive director, it's basically all the spaces that I've been involved in. I also help tremendously with CalServe, as many of the people that I know are deeply involved in the coalition. And as executive director, I feel as though I can bring not only a different creative bring a creative twist to perspectives, but hopefully echo the stories of students on this campus and speak to how we interact with one another and the rest of the world. My vision for Perspectives is that it attempts to reconnect and reconcile with the histories and experiences every student carries with them and as they move through the campus. How do we connect our past experiences to future struggles and achievements? How do we connect our past experiences to, how do we come to terms with our perspectives of one another based on certain trials and tribulations? How do we reconcile struggles while finding the beauty in our differences and letting them remain? Perspective serves as a space in which students and the community at large can intentionally engage with themes such as race, class, gender, sexuality, religion, and the histories that make us who we are to each other throughout a night of dance, spoken word, visual media, and other volumes of expression. Yeah.
Any questions for Darren? Senator Shen.
So I'm a huge fan of Perspectives, and I just wanted to know how do you plan on making Perspectives
Even bigger? Well, better. Okay, so what I noticed about past Perspectives was just like, okay, there you go. Okay. Oh, whoa, big difference. Okay, so what I've noticed about past Perspectives is that it kind of, I don't know. I feel like it missed a couple of the stories on campus. So, and wasn't like too intentional with direct collaboration. So I wanted to kind of like highlight those aspects of how the students can work together. So through certain workshops that I want to host with the student groups that will be participating, so they can actively engage in like learning about each other's experiences, and like it's not that just them dancing on stage with each other, but they're actively learning about one another.
Other questions?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just like purely curious. So you're planning on doing some workshops and still having kind of like the show?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that and just kind of like what the actual like perspective showcase is going to be?
Well, so the workshops I want everything in, well, if I'm elected, I guess, or appointed, Perspective should, I don't know, it should just, all those workshops and all those conversations will work towards the overall intention of Perspectives and the overall, like, I guess, like the enhancement of the communities, if that helps answer your question.
Because there's multiple cultures on campus, as we can all assume, how are you going to go about choosing which communities you're going to represent within Perspectives?
Definitely by looking at the past groups that have been involved. Also, while maintaining like my fresh own vision, I'm gonna reach out to communities that I know and network with, both on and off campus.
Other questions? All right, so Darren has been formally nominated. Per the process that's set forth in our bylaws, we will approve that next week. But feel free to ask questions in the meantime. I also would like to throw out my endorsement. He has worked really hard so far and has met with all the people, well, not all the people, the leaders from last year's Perspective Showcase to get the timeline, the events, the budget, all of that down. So he's done a lot of work behind the scenes in addition to the vision for the show. Senator Iwoma?
I would also like to express my endorsement for Darren Wallace as well. I work with Darren Wallace in several spaces with the Black Community Retention Center. We were on board together last year, and he always fights to like make it a really inclusive space. And also with the reclaiming of the African American Theme House, he really fought for like being really inclusive in everything he does. So I know he'll be a great Perspectives director for this upcoming year.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so if there are no other appointments from executive officers, I'd like to turn it over to the chairs of our search committees to talk about your nominations. Senator Quinn?
So I have 3 appointments for tonight. One of our appointments can't be here until after 9 because he has class till 9, so I don't know if we should wait for him for that, or if we can I introduce him without him being here? Should I wait till 9?
You should announce his name so that it's on the week calendar.
Okay.
And then if he's able to come, we can transition that.
Okay, great. So the 3 appointments I have for tonight are Haley Broder for Director of Sustainability, Andrew Trong for Green Certification Program Director, and Max Rosen for Cooperative Affairs Director. And I'd like to invite Haley Broder up to speak a little bit about her work.
everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Haley Broder, and just really quickly, I'm very passionate about the environment. I've been doing a lot of work for the community on campus already this year. I worked with the Sierra Club last year and have been collaborating with them already on issues this year. We're organizing a big rally against the Keystone XL pipeline on campus for November. We've been working on a sustainability master plan, and I have a lot of really exciting new ideas for our campus for environmental advocacy and education. And that's something I'm just really passionate about and interested in working on with everybody this year. So, thank you.
Yeah. Do we have any questions for Haley? All right. Thanks so much, Haley.
And Andrew, can you come up and say a little bit about what you want to do? Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Andrew Chung. I currently work in the Sustainability Department in EVP. I am really passionate about the environment. I worked in the ASUC last year, and this will be my first year in the EVP. Basically, a really quick overview of the Green Certification Program. It's a fund solely for student groups on campus, whether the ASUC sponsored or not, and it helps them make their events and their projects more green. And so there's currently about $20,000 left in this fund, and so the goal for this year would be to continue having a fund available by integrating it into the ASUC. So thank you.
Cool. Any questions for our Green Certification Program nominee? All right, thank you. Okay. Any other committees who have nominees that they need to put forward? Okay. If there are none, let's briefly move into, or maybe not briefly, we'll see, move into a conversation about appointments while we're on this item. We are in a little bit of a dilemma because of the effect that the campus shutdown had on our timeline. So the original timeline that the committees were supposed to be on is that interviews would have happened the day that the shutdown happened, follow-up interviews the following week. We would have people by now. So here is the problem. We have several positions, I would say foremost of which is the Attorney General, that per the way the bylaws are written, have to be appointed by next week on Wednesday. So what my hope is, and not to put pressure on this selection committee, but if we don't have a nominee by next Wednesday's meeting, we will not be able to conduct any business. So that means that we will be able to convene to hear reports, there will be roll calls and so forth, it will be a regular Senate meeting, but we may not consider or vote on any business except the appointment of people who need to be appointed by the 6th regular meeting, which is the Attorney General and the Comptroller General, if I'm not mistaken. So originally I considered putting forward a suggestion to suspend part of the bylaws so that we could get around that if it became necessary. That's also not an option because suspensions of the bylaws have to be put forward as main motions. Main motions are bills, and bills have to be put on the agenda a week in advance before they can be voted on. So this is really, it's been interesting working with this shutdown and not being able to meet on Monday. Now, if the committee feels like we can get some of these, and I'll talk with committee members offline if you all can hang around briefly afterwards so that we can strategize on this and make sure we're on track, we can move forward. But I do want to stress for all of the selection committees, please reference the bylaws for the positions that you are supposed to be searching for and confirm that you are in fact on track to appoint them by the time that is required by the bylaws, because it's possible that if we're not following this closely, we'll run into a position where we're not able to vote on anything. So I've been reminding you every week about the 6th week because it's a really important deadline. I'm just going to put it out there that we've put forward, actually, let me backtrack one moment. So there's another dimension to the problem. Even if the search committee chooses people on Monday, we would announce them at the Wednesday meeting, and we would have to wait a week before we vote on them, right? So we can't suspend any parts of those bylaws because that bill would have had to be put forward last week. And we can't, right, we're in a little bit of a bind, and we can't just put people forward now because they haven't gone through the committee's vetting process, and so that is a dilemma indeed. If we have thoughts on this, Senator Woche?
I was going to say, I mean, I'm willing to, because I have a bill forward about addressing the campus issues. I mean, so I'm willing to amend my bill if it's possible, so we can do that if we need to for the bylaws or so. So, yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I mean, add a table or amend it. Yeah.
That bill was put on today's agenda, and so it hasn't met the week deadline. We couldn't pull it for immediate consideration even if we wanted to.
No, not today. I mean, for next week.
We could table his bill next we'd have Sean's stuff.
So here's the problem though. Like at the start of the 6th meeting, we cannot vote on anything except the appointment of the Attorney General until the Attorney General has been appointed. So I really I know that it sounds like there's no way out, and that's probably because there isn't a way out. Yes, Senator Feynman.
To clarify, do they need to be appointed by the 6th week or voted on by the 6th week?
So the way that our appointment process works is that you announce appointments during reports, either committee reports or executive officer reports, and we vote on that appointment the following week. So there's a 1-week timeline on appointments. If we announced an Attorney General candidate today, we would be on track to vote for them by the next meeting.
Today's the 5th week, correct?
This is the 5th regular meeting.
Yeah, so next week if we appoint somebody for those positions and vote on the 7th week, is that still a problem? I thought you said you have to appoint them by the 6th week.
We would not be able to conduct action during the 6th meeting, which means that any bills that were approved out of committee or any other appointments that need to be approved cannot be done until the Attorney General and Controller General are appointed.
Okay.
Can I motion for like a 3-minute recess if possible?
I think if your fellow senators are voting on a recess, we should state the purpose.
I mean, in particular, I mean, because we just need to have a name out there, right, for the Attorney General. So I would just suggest like we can get together and put out a name and then so that way. All right.
I mean, we would be circumventing the committee process, and there are applicants who have not been interviewed. Again, like this is not the committee's fault. It's that everything was pushed back by a week because the campus was effectively shut down, right? So what would have been on schedule is now not. Senator Shen.
I'm not suggesting this. I was just wondering if this is hypothetically possible. But what if we pulled a non-contentious bill from the consent calendar and then did whatever we needed on there and then passed it? Like, is that a possibility?
That would be disingenuous.
Well, yes, but not. I was just, hypothetically, is that possible?
It is technically possible, and so what we would be then doing, if we were to add that to the text of a bill, would be suspending Title I, Article 4.2, and or Title I, Article 9.3.5.
What a workaround.
Something to consider. So, are there other questions about this? Is everyone on the same page about why we're in this bind right now?
You said they have to be appointed by the 6th week, right?
Correct.
So we appoint them next week and then vote on them.
No, appointment means selection.
They can't just be nominated to be actually like confirmed.
And so because the committee cannot produce a nominee until Monday. Right.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, I was gonna say, I mean, to Quinn's point, I mean, I have I think it would be a non-contentious bill that I was going to I'm gonna have to talk to FICOM about this, but I have a non-contentious bill that I was gonna pull or something. So if you all wanted that, if that idea was still out there, I'll be willing. But yeah, so.
Other thoughts on that suggestion?
Can we just see like who, by raise of hands, who'd be down?
I actually might have an idea. I just thought of this, but it has to do with special meetings of the Senate. So, Kevin, if you can clarify for us, when a main motion or when an appointment is made, it immediately becomes part of immediate consideration for the following regular meeting. That may be a way out. While Kevin and I are digging through the bylaws to work this out, let's move on to another part of the agenda so we can continue to be productive. We have two special orders. The first is on student information systems. So while that presentation is happening, we will work diligently to try to find a solution for you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Blackstone. I'm the Associate CIO for Student for the Berkeley campus, and I'm here with Jen Stringer, who's the Associate CIO for Academic Engagement. And we're here to talk to you tonight a little bit about the SIS replacement project, which many of you have heard about. And I just wanted to, not take up a lot of time, but we're going to talk through structure. We're going to talk a little bit about governance. And we have a handout. We're going to get to the senators, but we wanted to put this up on the slide since there's so many people in attendance tonight. And we're going to start a little more conversationally, and then we want to make sure we have some time for questions, and just make sure that you realize this is not the last time we're going to be here. This is basically the beginning of a longer conversation. This is a multi-year, 3-year project, and I just want to make sure that we're getting good student engagement, because for the first time since I've been here, there's actually an opportunity for the students to actually drive towards systems and a digital environment that is, I think, pretty exciting, since I know most of you are very familiar with telebears. My job in every meeting I go to is just to apologize to every student that I know about telebears, and just make a commitment to you that very soon it will no longer be on the Urban Dictionary as the worst student system in the country, because that's exactly where it is. So we will do what we can. One of the things I wanted to mention as well, before I get deep into this conversation, I'll talk about it at the end. We're in the process right now, which is also affected by the power outage that is apparently affecting some of your point of order tonight and your appointments. The outreach that we're trying to get to students, faculty, and staff right now about input on the early requirements for the replacement system is actually in progress right now. We're trying to get input from students, and right now it's been affected by that delay, and it was also coming at midterm, so I know that you guys are very, very concerned about that. So Jen, you want to hand out the Vanna here? Yes. One of the other things I do want to mention, DJ and Max G from the GA have just been an amazing set of advocates for getting a student voice represented in this project. I've been on the campus a very long time. I've witnessed many people try to attempt dealing with our student systems before. I think many of you realize that they could be much, much better and are not reflective of the current caliber of systems and experience that many of you would like to see Berkeley have. And I think we have a unique opportunity right now that the leadership has realized what a critical investment this is for us to actually turn things around. You guys have an opportunity because of Max and DJ to actually have the same type of leadership, decision-making, authority, and input that you've had on Lower Sproul, which is, I would just say, unprecedented. And it's a very, very important opportunity that I don't want to have anyone sit back too long and say, oh, it'll never happen. This is a real time to jump in. So what I'm going to talk through is the structure for both what we're calling Phase 1 and Phase 2. We're in the process of now organizing the project. Do we need more? I don't have. Yeah, for the small size. We can send more over to the, yeah. We wanted to make sure all the senators had a copy. Sorry, we should have brought more. So this is happening very quickly. It's a large project that is probably going to, as I said, take multiple years, but cost between 40 and upwards of, at some universities of our size and caliber, $60 million, depending on how it's run. These are big systems. The reason we have taken 30 years to replace the one that we have is because it takes a very, very concerted effort and senior leadership at the highest levels of the campus. And so where we are right now is at the end of what we had talked about as a Kowali consortium effort, a 6-year investment that actually did not result in an actual product. And our systems have continued to age. With our new CIO, with our new chancellor and others, this is the top priority for our systems environment right now. So we're moving quickly. We have outside contractors and consultants helping us shape this work. And we're actually in the process of organizing the governance and the participation. So what you'll see here, what I want to share with you is the Phase 1 planning is really just the organizing work. The campus has been structured around our administrative systems. This is the first time we're looking at our student systems in the same very structured executive level way. The student systems executive steering committee, as you'll see on the list here, includes vice chancellors that you're very familiar with who do care about systems that affect students, such as Harry LeGrand, our vice chancellor for student affairs, Kathy Koshland, who's been very concerned about advocating for the Cal Central project, which I think you all saw about 2 weeks ago, and then including our new CIO, Larry Conrad, who's been told that this is like his top charge. So they're involved, and you'll notice as well that in the voting executive steering committee, both DJ as the ASUC president and Max G as the GA representative are actually at the leadership table making those decisions. That's a voting governance group. The SIS planning group, which is actually comprised right now of Ann DeLuca as the admissions and enrollment lead, working with me, and the OCIO's office are actually helping organize and shaping the work and how we're getting these workshops on right now to get input from staff, faculty, and students. And then we have just charged a leadership group that DJ's provided some additional appointments from this table. I think Quinn and Sahil have already been participating in some of our meetings, and we also have a rep from the Student Technology Council and Grad Assembly as well. As we go into Phase 2, which will be after requirements, this will actually be where the work is starting to happen. We have an opportunity to have student involvement in almost every layer of our work. Not just the governance, not just making decisions or having input on a couple of screens and what we think we want in the requirement side, but actually helping to run the project. And that is, in our experience on this campus, unprecedented. And actually, when we've talked to the vendors, Moran Consulting is the vendor that we'll hope to bring back to this group in the future. They've never experienced this either. And I just want to say that this is the part where the rubber's going to hit the road. We're going to need to really actually have time and investment and people showing up. This isn't just a, oh yeah, we'll ask you, we'll invite you over for pizza and get you to do a focus group. This is actually dedicated work. We want to have students employed on the project, working with the technical teams, the functional teams, and driving the effort. And it's going to be a mix of input from subject matter experts, and we're looking at the ASUC as a key partner in helping to populate these groups. A little bit more on just the structure for the project. And you'll see across the top for the project working teams, we are going to be building for every one of the functional areas teams that actually have both technical leads, staff leads, and functional leads involved, but also students who are interested in these key areas. And we're going to be building and configuring the system as we go forward. And you'll notice that there's cross-functional areas that go across the whole environment. And we're looking to actually make sure that there are technical architecture decisions that are being made that put Berkeley in line with some of our peer institutions across the country. Because right now our aging systems, aging infrastructure is really, I would say, as Jen's nodding her head over here, she's been at Stanford, she's been at New York, NYU, and coming here, we're really in the dark ages, I think. And a lot of that's been because our work and investment has been in other areas on the administrative system. So this is, again, a huge opportunity. But you'll start seeing a structure develop around the types of areas that we want to get input in. So if you start seeing any area where you have interest, or you know of other people who have interest in either their academic field or just a passion for getting some of this right, we're going to want you to start thinking about it now, because we are going to be asking for true involvement ongoing. The other thing we want to do is have a very transparent process around decision making. And that's, I will just tell you, you all are in governance and decision-making roles right now. You know it's difficult on this campus, it's so big. But we're really going to try to push down empowered decision-making at the lowest levels possible. The project working teams, we're hoping to have as much of the decisions about what gets configured, what doesn't, happening there. As it gets escalated, we really want to make sure that students are in every one of these layers. And again, you have the senators, you all have this in your handout. I don't want to walk through this. I know I want to get to questions. But what we're really trying to do is just make sure you realize that we're being very thoughtful and trying to make sure that the right conversations are happening as we go through, and that the SIS leadership group, which again, it does have students there, does have the right decision makers in the room. We're going to be really pushing to make decisions quickly, because we have a very tight timeline. And several people have asked what's in the Student Information Systems, the SIS. It's not very sexy, I will just tell you that. It's the core data that you need to actually matriculate, to enroll, to graduate, to get your transcripts. And it's also, pay your bills and actually, navigate all of this. But it's definitely not the stuff that's going to be as fun or cool as some of the stuff you saw in Cal Central. I always feel a little sad that I don't get to do that. But if I can make this stuff work and actually be reliable, and we don't have to do side projects like a unified financial view where we have to actually spend extra time to have you get an accurate bill in front of you. That's what we need to do. We need to get the plumbing fixed, and we need to make sure that this is very, very solid, robust, and secure. This is about your data. And so I don't necessarily like the graphic very much, but it does. This is from the vendors. But it shows you that we right now very much have these isolated islands or little balloons of systems, data, and information that do not talk to one another. So the new system that we're hoping to bring in is actually going to be a unified system, either all one systems that is delivering this functionality, or a highly integrated system that's going to be able to have real-time information passing back and forth between these university activities. And then on timeline, we're already here. I want to let you know, it's definitely in corporate speak. It's talking about quarters, right? Sorry? Okay. How much time do we really have? Awesome. I thought we had 10, so this is good. Okay. I was trying to rush through. So planning phase, which we're in the middle of right now in terms of the requirements gathering, we're right here, we're developing the requirements. The RFP, request for proposal, is what that stands for. The vendors are actually very versed in moving that forward. They've worked with other institutions, they've done this before. We haven't done it at this scale, and so we're trying to gather as much information as possible about what we want in those base requirements. There are potentially 4,800 individual requirements for a system like the SIS system that we're running. And so we're trying to make sure we're refining that and getting it down just to the ones that we need. And we are in the process of a series of workshops, and as I mentioned, several of the senators have actually shown up for some of those, for the scope of work and the requirements development. I want to encourage, they're open to everyone. The schedule is on the sis-replacement.berkeley.edu website. The schedule is open. Any student is welcome to attend. Staff are welcome to attend. I would really love to see more students there. We've had a few, as I mentioned, but it'd be great to have more in-the-moment conversation. We are hoping to have the RFP out on the street by November Thanksgiving-ish. And that will allow vendors a few months to respond to us. And as you can see, hearing back from some of these large vendors, they're going to be putting their information together, sharing with us, and doing demos, which we're going to open up to the campus. And then we'll be negotiating a contract and starting what we call phase 2, which is the project management effort. And so if you look a little bit further, once we're in phase 2 and we're driving down the path toward implementation, a lot of our work is going to be focused on data migration, making sure that we're configuring, building, and testing the systems and rolling them out in the correct order. And right now, you'll see along the horizontal model there, we're going to really try to start with admissions in fall of 15, and then we'll be rolling through each of those other areas as quickly as we can. And again, testing with each step and moving forward with each step. And I think that was it in terms of the slides, so I definitely want to make sure we have an opportunity for questions. Please, you can.
So aside from handing out paper and smiling and nodding and being technical support, one of the things that I wanted to add is, as Angela mentioned, I've actually been at a number of other institutions before I came to Cal. Go Bears, by the way. Woo! Yes. And I won't say the S word, but I was there for quite a while, and I was actually there as they did the rollout of their SIS implementation, and then I happened to go to NYU, and I happened to come into their space right as they were in the middle of their SIS implementation, and so I think that one of the things that I can offer is sort of an outsider's perspective on what this process looks like, and also sort of reaffirm that nowhere that I've been has there been the level of student participation. And quite frankly, you know, we recognize that that's because you're helping us fit this bill, right? And you're going to be using these, it's true, and you guys are going to be using these systems. But I think that to just echo again, you all should have gotten an email about a survey that you can participate in. We apologize for the sort of clunkiness of the survey itself, but it really is going to give us a lot of good data to start that RFP process so that we can actually begin to select not only a good vendor, but really begin to think about that implementation path. So it's super important, and in fact, Angela had the data here in terms of the number of students that we've gotten so far. Point at the number that I'm supposed to say. We've had 18 students register, 11 participate. So we really need to hear your voices, because this is an area where, first of all, it's also going to show to the consultants and to the team sort of your commitment in participating in this process, which is a long and very involved process. So but they are, thank you. You guys are beating the faculty by one registrant. So that is excellent. Although total participants, they're up by 3. So if we're starting to get a little game here, you guys actually, it would be great if we get more of those participation. So we just wanted to point that out to you before we answered questions. Yes, sir.
Senator Witte.
Oh yeah, just clarification. So what days and times did you set the open meetings were? And then secondly, how could one get involved in that? Yeah.
The workshops are actually on the public website for the replacement project, SIS-replacement, project, .berkeley.edu. It's coming to a theater near you. And it has the schedule of events with a short description of what the workshops that we're running actually are covering, the topic for those. And again, they're all located at across from the Extension Building down on University at 1950 University and Suite 200. And so you can look on this, peruse it, understand that there's more detail available if you need it, and you can contact either myself or DJ to get more information about that. But we are very much looking to also come back and bring information here as well. But for the requirements part of it, before the Thanksgiving timeframe, that's when we really need to amp up your participation if we can get your thoughts in it earlier. So this is the kind of information you'll see, and I think DJ probably announced this before.
So I've been sending you all emails that I'm getting for this.
So hopefully this all makes a little bit more sense and is more clear about what is needed or what these workshops are. But every time I've been getting these invites and the summaries and emails and stuff like that, that's all been getting forwarded to you. So just be cognizant. I'm not just sending you emails just for fun.
Something that might look useful to you. So for example, the business process workshop around student accounts, right? That's actually something that's actually really relevant to you in terms of how your accounts are billed and all of that kind of stuff. So if someone showed up, you'd start hearing from what we call the sort of functional owners or the subject matter experts, but you guys are the subject matter experts in how you guys deal with actually paying your bill and how you deal with your student accounts. So we need to hear from you. That's a great example.
Other questions? Senator Rafi?
Hi, thank you for taking the time to come speak with us tonight and for your commitment to this vision. I have a couple, or rather several questions. Number one, I've had several questions. I've heard some questions regarding what the intersectionality is with Cal Student Central, because they also work with B-Space and DARS, so are those, yeah.
She hands me the microphone and stuff straight. Cal Central is actually a project that's being run out of the Educational Technology Services Academic Engagement Group, and that is a great question. So first of all, I should say that Cal Central is at the moment designed to help relieve some of the pain points that you guys are already feeling around these aging systems, the little individual balloons that Angela showed earlier. But we see moving forward, working together to make sure that what we're providing is additional functionality on the Cal Central side to aggregate all of these systems. So you've got the student information system, which has a lot of important things. It doesn't include things like B-Space, B-Courses, which is the new learning management system that we'll be rolling out soon. It doesn't include Be Connected, for example. And the idea is that Cal Central will be a complement to the SIS system and will actually show you what you need to do in the moment and then take you to the SIS portal or the SIS functionality that you need to do. So for example, you need to pay your bill. Cal Central will tell you need to pay your bill and provide you a link directly into the place where you pay it that's going to be in the student information system.
All right, thank you. And also, I attended one of the workshops in September, I believe, and they discussed kind of like what would be, I think, a phase 3 regarding like continuous evaluation of the system and the bugs. Could you guys speak a little bit more to that?
Yeah, we actually have, as part of the overall project, a real commitment on the part of the CIO and the rest of the team to actually do quality assurance throughout the project, not just like get the input about what we think we want and then turn it over to a vendor and hope things go well. We're actually trying to build in a level of discipline on the circling back, the testing, and basically the quality assessment and assurance throughout the project. So there's actually a separate request for proposal. So we'll have an outside, almost auditing agency following along with us to make sure that we don't end up in a situation where it's just been turned loose and we're not actually getting the delivery of service. And actually, if anyone is, again, interested in certain types of fields or areas of interest, I know there's a lot of room here for involvement, and we're looking for direct involvement in that auditing functionality, the business functionality. We're going to need people who really, really have deeper interest in not just technology, because we're viewing this as not a technology project. We're viewing this as a student service project, that it's actually being driven by our functional leads. And so as a technologist, I know I get in trouble by some of my own team members because it's like, wait, this is a cool time to get technology in there. And I want to be really clear, this is not just technology for technology's sake. This is hopefully getting us to a place where the underlying systems can support all of the changing technologies that we want. And so and that you use every day in your private life, in your real life, right? So that's hopefully going to get us there. Did you have more? You said many. You said more than a couple.
Could we just receive the PowerPoint in an email? Would that be possible?
The which?
Would it be possible to get the PowerPoint in an email in case people want
Sure,
further information?
yeah. And we're actually trying to get this whole set of slides up on the website. We're going to start. One of the things you should know is we're feeling a little bit behind on the communication outreach and having some help with that. So we're about to hire a communications person. We just finished interviews with the finalists this week, and we're making an offer, I think, tomorrow. So, and so all this information, as quickly as it's coming up, we want to have it exposed in the public sites and available, especially through the student venues. And actually, we're going to be talking with DJ and others about not just with the ASUC input and Senate, but how do we do better outreach with the larger student communication efforts, right? And so we're going to ask all of you for ideas about how best to do that.
I saw Senator Mullen next.
Hi, I have two questions. The first is regarding the vendor that you choose for the SAS project. Would they also be in charge of ensuring that the program, similar to Senator Rafi's question, is continuing? Like, I know one of the problems we have now with our systems is that the following up on them years to come sometimes becomes an issue because a lot of them were homegrown and some of the people that would be in charge of them. So I didn't know how the vending process worked, how long the contract worked with that system and that company.
Right. Well, as I mentioned, we're trying to actually get a good check and balance. So the vendor that we are bringing in to actually provide the software and implement the system and deliver it is not going to be the same vendor that we want monitoring that delivery. So we actually want a check and balance and a separate activity for that.
Okay. And then my second question, I guess it's more of a comment, a little constructive criticism. This slide, I don't think is as accessible for the larger student body. If we could maybe condense it into some more manageable information.
I think that's absolutely, I am 100% in agreement, and exactly why we want to have more students involved in the communication outreach. The people that we're interviewing and selecting for the communications lead position are folks that have worked with and value working with students.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so my question is on along the lines of like student engagement as well. So like I'm trying to like see like how it would assist the students to make it appealing to them, because like probably not one of the most appealing of projects of all time, but I think you can make anything appealing. So like where like do you see like the student engagement being the most important like in this process?
I might ask, you want to answer? No. Okay. One of the things that I have struggled with I've been in IT for a long time. I've been providing student support and services for a long time, and I've really struggled with this disconnect about not having the students in a place where they're deciding kind of what they're getting in terms of how they're interacting with the data. And so for the first time ever, I believe that the door's been cracked open for not just us to tell you how to participate, but for us to actually get you involved in helping shape what that looks like. And so what is really unique about this structure that we've landed on with initial resistance, I would say, from the senior leadership, but once we started pointing to things like the lower Sproul work and where decisions are being made by students in real time around delivery of those buildings, and they actually see those buildings going up, that work is actually translating now into this digital space. And I think that the leadership, and I would just say really strongly advocated for by Harry LeGrand, the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, very, very much supported by Kathy Koshland, but really, really, at this point, I do want to tell a story about Larry Conrad, who is our CIO. He came from UNC. And when we started explaining to him at the beginning, when he first started in February, that students really were going to want to have a voice and participate in driving this, he says, well, in my experience, the students really don't have time for this. And they really are about their classes and their studies, and they're not really going to want to give us much more than just input. And several of us were like, well, it might be different here. And I will just tell you, again, going back to just the persistence that some of the students involved in this, and especially DJ and Max, just really pushing in and saying, we really want an advocate, we want a voice, we need your support. I will tell you, Larry Conrad is now, the vendors come in and he's explaining to them, the students want to be involved, and the vendor's like, yeah. And no, he said, Berkeley students are different. They really do want to drive this. And so he has really opened that door, and he has taken it seriously. The report and the recommendation that DJ worked with Max on to present to him, he's accepted in full in terms of additional participation in these different groups, governance groups. These are not just workshops. Yes, come to the workshops, but these are real areas of influence.
Other questions, Senator Feynman?
I want to thank you for coming in. We really appreciate it. I have a question. Kind of personally, I don't consider myself to be very tech savvy. Like I've spent hours on telebears, like confused and angry and frustrated and disappointed. And I think I echo some of the sentiment from the constituents and colleagues who also don't consider themselves tech savvy. And the programs you're talking about and like the student involvement seems to me that it's directed more towards students who have technical background or interest in technology. Correct me if I'm wrong. I was just wondering how you would broadcast or make that appealing, like kind of similar to Destiny's question, to students like myself who aren't technically savvy, because in the end of the day, the majority of the students who have problems with these programs and the internet and stuff like that are people who don't have that kind of background, if you understand what I'm saying.
Agreed. And again, I just want to apologize for telebears. No, I don't think, again, I want to just, I'll let others add, but I don't think we have a real focus on the technology itself. We're actually trying to have input around how does the technology need to function so that it is not an obstacle or a barrier to you getting your academic and administrative work done on this campus. Period. Yeah.
I was just going to say too that when we're talking, for example, if a student attended this particular workshop, you wouldn't need to be technical at all. In fact, what we would want you to be there for around, say, student accounts, or there's one on portals, or there's one on whatever, is we would actually want we would be asking you about what's your experience like now, what are the barriers, and how would you like it to work. This is not about what technology would you want to use, but it would really be about what is the experience piece. And so when you were asking about how do we get students excited or enthusiastic or engaged to want to come to one of these things, I think what we want to do is figure out how to work with the communications person that we're bringing on board to actually come up with some sound bites that you guys come up with where your pain points are, and we can point folks to the right way to participate to really make sure that your voices are heard around your pain points. Does that make sense? So much more around, tired of waiting on the phone with telebears. I guess it's not on the phone system anymore, but or tired of having that XXX go down. Or we want we need your voice to make this better. Come to this workshop and tell us how, right?
We have about, how many minutes left? Like one?
We have 30 seconds probably,
left.
yeah.
Keeping in mind we've had a while on this. I would encourage people to talk offline if they need to. Otherwise, we will need an extension on time in order to ask questions. 27 seconds left. Take it or leave it. Awesome. Okay, and since this is the first step in an ongoing conversation that we will be having about this, and we will be hearing more about this project as we go on, there will be ample opportunity to continue this discussion. Thank you to our guests for coming in to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
All right, we do have an additional special order. This is regarding Senator Chung's bill, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Nomads from the Liberty and North Korea group. Is there a PowerPoint we should set up?
Until like end of the summer, I had this really, really bad. Yes, it's like I can tell it apart.
Hi, my name is Carrie Park. I am the president of Liberty in North Korea chapter here in Berkeley. And we have today here with us representatives from our very own headquarters located in Torrance. They're here to talk about the cause that we're supporting and what Link does and what we can do to support this cause. And as some people from our group were able to present on Monday to some of the people here, we believe that as leading educators of the nation as well as this world, we believe it's Berkeley's responsibility to really support this cause. So I will hand over the mic to our representatives.
Thank you so much for having us here tonight. My name is Jessica, and these are my teammates Jessica and Josh. And we work for Liberty in North Korea, and we are the Cal West Nomads. And we travel all throughout California, bringing awareness on what is going on in North Korea today. So a little bit of how I got involved. I grew up in Seoul, South Korea, and I grew up totally oblivious to what was going on in North Korea and the human rights violation that was occurring. And when I learned about it, I was moved to get involved. And so that's why I'm here today to talk to you guys. And just a little bit of background of what is going on in North Korea. The people of North Korea are denied their basic humanity. They are denied their freedom of movement, of speech, of religion, and they're totally controlled by the regime. And because of this, they escaped to China, where they are living in fear of being repatriated back into North Korea, where they face severe punishments, such as being sent to a political prison camp. And these political prison camps still exist today. There are 5, and there are 150,000 to 200,000 political inmates that live there. And what is different about these political prison camps in comparison to concentration camps is the collective punishment. So if an individual is sent to these political prison camps, not only him or her, but also 3 generations of their family, so including their grandparents, their mothers and fathers, and their children. And because of this, now Jessica is going to speak about what we do as an organization.
Thank you. So, like Jessica said, there are thousands of North Korean refugees hiding in China in fear of being sent back to North Korea and being punished there. So, Liberty in North Korea works to rescue North Korean refugees and resettle them in South Korea or the United States. In the 3 years that we've been rescuing North Korean refugees, we've been able to rescue 188 people and reunite 46 families. Once they're brought to freedom, we help in resettlement in ways financial services, career development, and personal development, so we can get them on their feet and independent and being able to have opportunities. We also work to shift conversation and perception of North Korea from the politics to the potential of its people, because we truly believe that change in North Korea is going to come from the bottom up. So now Josh is going to talk about the rescue team here.
So thank you guys for having us once again. Just people like Carrie and Griffin in the back, they're really in line with the activism here, the historical activism of Berkeley, and really they believe in they believe in the freedom of the North Korean people, and through that they've started their own rescue team chapter, and to this day they've raised enough awareness and funds to rescue 2 North Korean refugees to freedom, one in South Korea and one in America. And you know, we hear these stories about, you know, refugee stories after they get out, and one really sticks in my mind right now is an elderly man who escaped when he was about 70 years old, and a staffer asked him, why now? Why risk getting caught now in your old age? And he said, every day in freedom, even one day, is a precious day. And you guys here at Berkeley have an opportunity to multiply those days of freedom tonight. What we're asking you guys tonight to do is to officially recognize and acknowledge that this North Korean crisis is happening today, acknowledge the North Korean people, their plight, and their power. And, you know, one day in history, people will write about North Korea and they'll ask, did you take a stand? Berkeley, you have a chance to answer that question tonight. I want to thank you guys so much for having us out here today. And yeah, thank you so much once again.
Are there any questions for our presenters from the Senate? Going once. Senator Upadilla.
This is also like more of a comment. First, I'd like to thank you so much. There's little that I knew about this, and it means like just opening our eyes to that issue is like, it also means a lot to me. But going off of that, you talked about how there's a possibility, like you think the change will come from the bottom up, and I kind of do agree with that. That's historically how change has happened in many ways. Is there any way for people to communicate with people who are still in North Korea? Is like, yeah, are those lines of communication open, or what does that situation look like?
Great, absolutely. Thank you for having us again, and thank you for your question. That really is the crux of what we really believe is going to happen with bottom-up change. There are actually lines of communication through illegal cell phone towers in China that are set up between the border of North Korea and China, and a lot of North Korean refugees will actually send money back into their families and their friends back in North Korea through basically what is today a wire transfer. So numbers we've heard from our strategists at HQ is that even within half an hour to an hour, money can be transferred from America or South Korea into North Korean society, into North Korean families. And so that's really what we're relying on this grassroots bottom-up change, and it's really going to be, it really changes everything that exists. Thank you.
I recently met a North Korean refugee who had actually defected 10 years ago, and she is part of an organization that works to support this cause, and she told the people at the conference, I went to a conference, and she said that they have connections in North Korea. They were actually able to send a Samsung Galaxy to North Korea, and they get signals from China. So they are able to be on the phone, and they find out about all these things in the internet. They're like amazed. So they have means to contact the people in North Korea, and she was able to find that what people have there, it's basically the same as what she was able to experience, what she experienced 10 years ago in North Korea. People are still dying of starvation, diseases, no medicine, no food, no money. So yeah, that's just answering your question. So yes, we do have connections.
Senator Mullen.
You spoke to how your efforts have been to rescue and bring refugees to the United States and South Korea. Could you speak to the refugee status once they are here in the United States, and how the government has been, because I know there's certain statuses and different allotments for refugees?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So, sorry, I need to see. They actually get refugee status in Southeast Asia. We guide them on a journey from China to Southeast Asia where they seek refugee status, and from there they can choose whether to resettle in the United States or South Korea. If they choose the United States, they do get 3 months of federal benefits, but as you can imagine, starting out in a new country, 3 months is really not that much. So Link really steps in with a very intimate relationship with them, whether it's mentoring, counseling, translation services, legal services for citizenship, subsidized housing, things like that. They really help the whole 9 works. Thank you.
Senator Feynman.
Yeah, maybe this question, first of all, thanks again for coming. Maybe this question is just like my own lack of knowledge, but has much changed since the dictatorship has changed from Kim Jong-il to Kim Jong-un?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we still have a lot to see about Kim Jong-un because he's only been in power for 2 years, but he's definitely cracked down on the borders. In the recent 2 years, I think 50% less of people have defected, but they still have, they're still so resilient, and they've come up with creative and efficient ways to still leave North Korea, but he definitely has cracked down on the borders of it. Thank you.
Senator Rafi.
Again, thank you for coming. This might be a fairly simple question, but does the Red Cross have access to the prison camps? And if not, is that in consideration?
Great. So organizations like the Red Cross and the UN are actually not allowed to work in North Korea. The UN's actually launched a human rights investigation into the prison camps. But as soon as they launch these investigations, with all these sources corroborating about the existence of the prison camps, the North Korean regime has been staunch in their denial that they even exist. And while we do know they exist through satellite image on Google Maps and their exact terrain and what they look like, the North Korean regime to this day refuses to exist. So that's why international organizations, humanitarian organizations like the UN and even the Red Cross are unable to enter. Yes. There's actually going to be a documentary screening tomorrow that the Berkeley chapter will be hosting, and you guys will get to see us again. So if you guys have any more questions, then see our new documentary. We'd love for you to come out. What room is it?
101 Morgan, 7 o'clock.
101 Morgan, 7 o'clock. 101 Morgan, 7 o'clock. All right. Thank you, guys. Any more questions? We love them.
Any other questions for our speakers? Awesome. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, so we now move on then past legislative officer reports, because we have no legislative officers yet, to standing committee reports. I'll ask the standing committee chairs to reference Title I of the bylaws, it's administration. There's a format for standing committee reports and what's supposed to be delivered to the Senate at minimum. So specifically which bills passed, which bills failed, and so forth. So please reference that for your committee reports. For now, from the standing committee, starting with finance, I just need to know which bills passed out of committee. Which bills failed, if any failed.
Hi. So the week 4 budget bill did pass. The week 5 budget bill did pass. Week 4 passed with, or like amendments were made. So out of the entire bill was $1,618.96. Out of contingency, that was $1,418, and out of like the spaces fund, it was $200. And then for week 5, the total was $5,019.76. Out of contingency, that is $2,439.76, and then out of the spaces fund was $2,580. I believe the other bill was SB 21, and that did fail.
Okay, and then the week 4 and 5 budget bills, can you give me the Senate bill numbers of those?
I do not have the numbers. I can. 19 and 26.
Okay. And both of those passed with amendments?
Yes.
Okay. Great, thank you. So moving on then to the Standing Committee report from Constitutional and Procedural Review. Any bills that passed or failed, noting which bills passed with amendments.
So for Conrev, from week 4, SB 15 passed with amendment. 15. And then from week 5, SB 20 passed with amendments as well. Those are all the bills that passed through Conrev. There is one announcement from the committee. So on Monday, Conrev was placed on the pretty much basement of Anahead, which was particularly difficult because we did have an interviewee for Judicial Council.
Can I clarify, so you were not placed upstairs?
We were, but the problem was we had an interviewee that needed special work accommodations for sound. And since there was another committee here, we couldn't perform the interviews upstairs. So we had to move downstairs, which was somewhat uncomfortable for committee members and the interviewee.
So this is not exactly the time to revisit this discussion, but I think what I'll do is offline, I'm going to talk with the committee chairs. Please collect feedback from your committees and we'll reevaluate whether meeting in Anahead is the right thing for all of the committees to do. Again, the reason that we went forward with either meeting in Anahead or Unit 1 is so that all the committees are next to each other, right? And so if it is the will of the Senate that we begin meeting in Unit 1 instead for accessibility and separation reasons, we can do that. We just have to have that conversation. So Senators Mojave, Truax, and Tan will talk separately to see how you all are feeling about that. Okay. So let's hear then about bills and business out of University and External Affairs.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so first of all, sorry, there was some confusion. I'm sorry that the external bills aren't on the consent calendar and their amended versions are not in the back. That is totally my bad. I'm really sorry. They will for sure be there next week. But yeah, so we'll go through the bills. SB 18 passed. SB 8 passed. SB 25 passed with with a couple of amendments. SB 24 passed. SB 14 passed. SB 13 passed. And SB 16 passed with amendments.
Great, and were there any bills that were not passed?
No.
Great,
Everything
okay.
passed.
So with that, in the consent calendar for this week, we have SB 8, SB 13. I am.
Do you announce them with their title?
I mean, they're in numerical order.
No, they're not.
So SB 8, SB 13, SB 14, SB 15 as amended, SB 16 as amended, SB 18, SB 19 as amended, SB 20 as amended, SB 24, SB 25 as amended, and SB 26 as amended. Those are the bills that are in consent calendar right now. Now is the time when we would pull bills from consent calendar to do things other than pass them immediately.
It's not
Okay. Is SB 21 on the consent calendar?
No. Which committee was SB 21 in?
Back on.
I thought that bill didn't pass.
It did not.
So it's not.
Oh, it should.
Consent calendar is only bills that passed out of committee.
Okay.
So now we're talking about pulling bills from consent calendar. Any questions, comments, or bills to be pulled? Senator Iwoma?
Yeah, I would like to pull SB 8 from the consent calendar. Wait, I'm sorry. Is that, which was the Ignite bill? That's SB 8, yeah. I'd like to pull SB 8 from the consent calendar.
Okay, so SB 8 has been pulled from consent calendar. It moves automatically into immediate consideration. Are there any other bills to be pulled from consent calendar?
Yeah.
Could you just announce them with their titles, just for clarification?
I mean, the only bills I have titles from are the ones that appear
I'm
on the
gonna talk about
agenda.
the
So all of the external ones that I didn't get. So
would it be possible to have like maybe a recess for like 3 minutes just to discuss? I mean, if necessary, if the rest of Senate thinks it's necessary. No? Well, I would make a motion for a 3-minute recess just because of kind of the lack of description on the consent calendar, maybe.
Before we move to that motion, if Senator Truex can just read the bills with titles.
Yeah. Sorry once again, guys, everyone. All right, SB 18, a bill in awareness of the crisis in North Korea, was passed. SB 8, a resolution in support of the Ignite campaign, was passed. SB 25, a bill in support of public education and the ASUC program, was passed with amendments. SB 24, a bill in support of the It Can Wait campaign, was passed. SB 14, a bill in opposition to the FDA's lifetime ban on MSM blood donations, was passed. SB 13, a bill in support of the Berkeley dance community, the University of California Rally Committee, and the Student Spaces reservations, was passed. SB 16, a bill to condemn the Fraternity Council, was passed with amendments.
Okay, so are there any, Senator Week?
Point of information, my bill was passed with amendments and the name changed. So I don't know if that was shown in the...
Okay, that will be reflected in the minutes to the extent that they're sent out by the chair in that form. So as long as we have updated versions coming out of committee, all those changes will be reflected. Aside from Senator Iwoma's bill that was pulled from consent calendar, is there anything else we'd like to pull from consent calendar so we can move into immediate consideration?
Quick clarification. So as I pulled it, am I able, so my goal is to table this bill, so do I have...
That happens under immediate consideration.
Thank you.
Yes. All right, so we're now moving then into immediate consideration. Before we get into, So, as you all know from previous meetings, consent calendar passes once we move on from it. We're now immediate consideration. Let's talk briefly then about SB 8. So Senator Wilma's goal seems like it's to table that. Is there a motion to do that, Senator Wilma?
I move to table SB 8.
Second. To clarify, is the goal to table it to send it back to committee or to table it till a future date in Senate?
To table it to a future date in Senate, which will be next week.
Okay, so the motion is to table SB 8 until the meeting of October 16th.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any opposition to the motion? Any abstentions? Great, seeing none, motion carries. I do also want to briefly talk about a potential solution to our small dilemma with the appointment processes. So there are two possible scenarios here. I'll lay them out for you so that you can choose. I personally am not a fan of suspending the bylaws ever, but it may be necessary. Our first option without suspending the bylaws is to call a special meeting of the Senate on Friday or possibly Saturday, where the Senate would convene to hear the announcement of candidates that have to be appointed by the 6th week. So that would be made during special committee reports. So that meeting would have to be at sometime after 9/12 on Friday because we would need 48 hours notice. We would keep on the agenda special committee reports and appointments so that we have the capacity to discuss items. We would not conduct any other business besides that. We would then have the selection committee that's responsible for the Attorney General selection process move their committee interviews to Thursday and Friday prior to that time and make sure that they have a name by Friday. Senator Tan?
That might not work because we have J Council interviews on Monday as well, which cannot be moved or will be very difficult to move. And I think J Council appointments,
So J Council, as far as I understand, is not bound by a 6-week restriction.
I believe it is.
It's just if it loses.
Oh, just the lease form.
Right. So yeah, there are officers that are supposed to be appointed by a certain week, and then there are officers that have to be appointed by a certain week, or we stop functioning as a body. Okay. So slight distinction. So that's one option. The other option is to pass this main motion that I just wrote under immediate consideration. So functionally, and I won't read it out loud. I'll sort of assess whether or not you all are interested in entertaining this option. But Article 9, Section 2D of the Constitution allows the suspension of public notice requirements for main motions in the event of a crippling disaster or work stoppage, which is what happened last week. And so basically what I would be proposing is that we suspend public notice only for specifically voting on this main motion here, which will allow us to suspend the bylaws on appointment processes, so that rather than having basically what we would be suspending is Title I, Article 4.2 of the bylaws and the following week requirement clause, so that rather than pushing the appointment back to the following week, we'd be able to appoint somebody in the same meeting that they are announced as a candidate. So those are, yes, Senator Rocky.
Could we receive the names ahead of time in an email just so that we can do our due diligence?
Yeah, I mean, so it would be up to the committees, and as soon as the committees have announced their candidate, we presumably then would hear about it.
We could email you at 9 p.m. on Monday.
So those are our two options before us. Can we get comments on one side or the other, favorable or not favorable to those approaches? Yeah, can we do a straw poll? Those in favor of the special meeting route? And then, okay, so those in favor of the special main motion suspension-y route. We have two options right now, unless somebody else has an idea. Okay, so it looks like that is the will of the Senate. If that's the case, I will read the bill for the record and also type it. I will provide Mr. Litwack with this copy, but also make sure that the typed version goes out. It's very simple. It would be Senate Bill 30, a bill in support of expedited appointments of legislative officers, authored by EVP PAC and sponsored by EVP PAC. So first, we start with whereas Article 9, Section 2D allows the suspension of public notice requirements for main motions in the event of a crippling disaster or work stoppage, semicolon and. Whereas Monday, September 30th committee meetings were canceled due to a crippling disaster and consequent work stoppage. Therefore, be it resolved that the ASUC Senate suspend Article 9, Section 2A of the Constitution to allow, well, it's not actually suspend, it would be that the ASUC Senate waive Article 9, Section 2A of the Constitution to allow action on this main motion, parentheses, SB 30, and be it further resolved that the ASUC Senate suspend Title I, Article 4.2 of the bylaws regarding the following week requirement for appointments effective immediately through 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, October 16th. So it basically is effective through the end of that meeting, and then the suspension stops because we don't need it anymore. Well, okay, so I'm going to put forward this main motion into immediate consideration. So we're now in immediate consideration of SB 30 as it's been articulated. Are there questions about the bill or the process? Okay, Senator Upadhyula.
Is there any way that we could put like the names of the positions that for which this is being done for into the bill, just so it's like clear that these were the two positions, etc.
Let's see.
EVP PAC, is the election class chair also bound by a 6-week appointment?
Not that I know of.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Well, I think it's 9 weeks.
okay. So it should just be Mr. General.
So what I would prefer is rather than the name of the specific positions that we put positions, something like positions that are required to be appointed by the 6th week.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Just in case for some reason the elections council chairs, which I don't think they are. Correct. Yes.
I move to make that amendment.
So it would then read, suspend Title I, Article 4.2 regarding the following week requirement for appointments that must be made by the 6th regular meeting. Okay, so what if we say this then? So the last clause would be it further resolved that the ASUC Senate suspend Title I, Article 4.2 regarding the following week requirement only for appointments that must be made by the 6th week, comma, effective immediately through 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, October 16th. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. This is awful. So, again, I apologize for us having to do this, unforeseen circumstances. We're in immediate consideration of SB 30, a bill in support of expedited appointments of legislative officers. Is there a motion to pass SB 30? Actually, really quickly. First, what I need is a 2/3 vote to invoke Article 9, Section 2D of the Constitution to allow us to suspend the public notice section in order to consider this motion. So the chair would like to entertain a motion to invoke Article 9, Section 2D of the Constitution in order to suspend Section 2A.
I move to do what the chair has stated.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. So let's do just a show of hands. All those in favor of the motion? Okay, all those who are, any who are opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. So it passes by unanimous consent of members present.
Actually, okay.
Okay, so we can now enter consideration of SB 30, a bill in support of expedited appointments of legislative officers. The chair would like to entertain a motion to pass SB 30 with the amendment suggested by Senator Upadhyayula as it's been articulated for the record.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there
Second.
a second? It's been moved and seconded. So we now are in the stage where we would vote on SB 30. I believe this also requires a 2/3 vote because it's a suspension of the bylaws. So all those in favor of SB 30? Okay. Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, seeing none, motion carries. We, I believe, have resolved our problem for appointing. Contingent on the committee having appointments to give us on Wednesday, we will be okay.
I commit to send an email Monday.
Okay, so thank you all for enduring that procedural nonsense. We're still under immediate consideration. Is there anything else that needs to be taken care of during immediate consideration?
Let's move on.
Yes, no, maybe? Okay. There is no old business at this time. We'll now move on to special committee reports. I believe these special committee reports that we received on the appointments should be sufficient for most of the special committees. If you have not selected someone that you talked about during appointments and you would still like to give a special committee report or status update for any of the special committees that are doing selections and various things like that, now would be the time. Chairs of those committees? All right. So we now then move into ASUC representative reports. Do we have any ASUC representative reports or other things of that nature? Senator Chen?
So I have two things. Wait, this is like elected official
No.
reports, right?
No.
No. JK. Sorry.
Yeah, this is if you're like
You're on
liaison.
You're on
If you're a liaison to something like the President's Call Assembly. Okay, so if there are no.
I had a question.
Yes?
Senator Wood.
Senator Wood.
Yeah, we're gonna, on the I guess I was going to ask you, I mean, could I still,
Speaking to the mic.
in the beginning of the meeting, would this be the time for me to ask for that to happen?
That time passed already.
The time passed already? All right,
Yes.
so that can happen at all?
I mean, we've passed immediate consideration already. Senator Quinn?
Max Rosen is here. Can I go through his appointment right now, or should I wait? The person who is going to who we selected to appoint for Cooperative Affairs Director.
Okay. You submitted his name already, correct?
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I would say is if you'd like to yield time to him, you can do that, I suppose.
Do people want to hear from him?
I
Do
wanna
you
hear.
trust us?
Yeah, so senators, would you, I guess if it is the will of the Senate to hear from him and be able to ask him questions, we would have to move back to that agenda item. So if the Senate is okay with moving back to appointments, we will move there.
Well, can't Caitlin just yield time during elected official announcement?
The procedure on yielding time is, I would prefer to do it under the agenda item, just for the sake of keeping it consistent with the practices we've had in the past.
All right, well then, I'll move to go back to that agenda item.
Okay, so we've had a motion to return to appointments. Second. It's been seconded. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, motion
I
carries.
just had a question. Wait, isn't that the same thing I was trying to do in terms of going back to immediate consideration? Good question.
Let's take care of that when the time comes. We have an appointment for now.
Okay. I'd like to invite Max up to talk about his qualifications. You can go up to the podium, yes, and speak into the mic.
Hello, everyone. I'm very honored to be here. I've been a member of the Berkeley Student Cooperative for about a year and a half now. I'm very, very passionate about the community, and I know it houses a lot of students and a lot of members of the Cal greater community. And so I would love to serve as a representative of the ASUC there and serve as a representative of the BSC here at ASUC.
All right, do we have any questions for our nominee? All right, okay, if there are none, we will move on. Great, thank you so much. Okay, so we've returned to the order of the day. We are now in elected official announcements.
Yeah, elected official announcements, yeah.
Okay, so let's do elected official announcements in normal fashion. We started, I think, on Senator Chow's side last time, so let's start on Senator Wu's side this time, and we'll go down the U.
So I actually have two updates. So first thing, I'm working on extending the move-out date for dorm residents. I'm working on it with Senator Chung, and we're gonna send out some surveys very soon, sometime this week. So we'll also forward it to you all. So if you could send it to your constituents and let people know about it, will be much appreciated. And second thing, International Student Association at Berkeley is having a dodgeball tournament next Saturday at Memorial Glade. It'll be starting at 1 p.m. and ends around 4:30, and it's open to everyone, not just international students or cultural groups necessarily. So feel free to stop by. Thank you.
Oh, like I announced last meeting, this Thursday is going to be a graduate student almost mentorship program in Dwinell 155. It's going to be a way for students to learn more about graduate school and stuff like that. If you have any questions, please email me. Yeah.
Hello, y'all. Well, this Saturday, the Southeast Asian Young Leaders (SEAL), which is a mentorship program that my community has worked with in the past, they're having their 10th anniversary candlelight vigil. Their program started it 10 years ago because one of their friends, her name is Chan Bongkut. She was shot in the front of her doorsteps 10 years ago, and her father was also hurt. So she was a student that was an honor student and really trying to get engaged and make some changes in her life, but she was brutally murdered in the front of her doorstep because of gang violence. So this organization started 10 years ago, and this is like a 10-year anniversary and a remembrance of Chan Bon-kut for just remembering her and also other lost loved ones from gang violence in Richmond, California. The event is at the Richmond Public Library, 6 to 7 this Saturday.
Hey everyone, I have two announcements. One was for past Tuesday was an academic senate meeting of the libraries, and I just wanted to give you an update on what happened there. Basically, we were finalizing the report of the commission on the future of the UC Berkeley libraries, and this is like a 30-page report, which is basically kind of talking about, you know, librarians. It kind of talks about a lot of the things on libraries. Really briefly, it talked about librarians versus search engines, discoverability versus availability, access versus control, the case for reinvestment, and investment trends in Berkeley libraries. Kind of interesting note, in 2003, we were actually the number fourth kind of national, university in terms of how much we invest in our libraries, which was $16 million per year. In 2011, we dropped down to rank number 14. We've only increased in 8%. And also, we offered recommendations. And one of the really interesting things is, you know, following our advocacy agenda item number 2 for kind of increasing study space at Berkeley, part of the report actually also details the recommendation to open the second floor of Doe from 9 to 5 on Saturday and 10 to 5 on Sundays, and also encourages remodeling Moffitt to become a 24/7 hour study space, future orienting it for a place for study and investigation. The other thing was kind of on SIS. I kind of regret not bringing it up during the special order, but I kind of want to get the Senate's opinion on kind of my views of it. So I really love, you know, Jan Stringer and Angela Blackwell, but I think Blackstone. I think one of the issues is that kind of based on the timeline, it's a 2-year project, and they say it's really student focused, but you know, kind of the survey came out about a week and a half ago. It requires a registration process that isn't through centralized through CalNet ID or anything, and also there's kind of based on the numbers you heard, really like only a handful of people actually filled it out, and this is something kind of like where they're basing, you know, RFPs and SOWs on it. And so my concern was, you know, what I really wanted to know is like what you feel about it, and like, I don't know if we can kind of push that back or anything, since this is the focus. You know, students are the focus of this project, and also there's no incentive for kind of filling out the survey. I think of like the climate report, and you know, that was like really, really long too, but you know, there was a $500 or $1,000 thing with it, and I know a lot of students actually filled it out just because of that. So I would recommend, I don't know if we can do something about it, but really, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so on that note, I think I would suggest to you all, as I mentioned, because of the power outage last week, and because it's midterm season also, I've been stressing to the folks who are working on SIS that this is not a good time to be asking students to fill out a 4,000 question survey. So I think it would be really powerful if you all kind of like skimmed over the survey and looked at the concerns or questions that are being raised and kind of assess it and think about that for your own, and then pass a bill on it too, and that way we can use that in the different spaces to kind of say like, this is what like students want, this is what we think the needs are or what the priority should be as you develop, you know, the statement of work and the RFP process and stuff like that for the leadership team.
And just to follow up with that, for transparency's sake, me and Sahil are working on a bill, something like that. So yeah, we'll definitely get that going. Yeah.
Sorry, we're going out of order, but so I just want to invite the members of the Senate as well as the public on Grace Asuncion's 21st memorial on October 13th. It's a Sunday. It will be held at 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Hearst Field Annex grass area. So I just want to read a little bit of what the event is about. So Grace was a treasured member of the UC Berkeley and the Filipino campus community. Grace served as Academic Affairs Chair for the Filipino-American Alliance from 1991 to 1992. Though her death was a tragic loss, it is because of her story that the university took more interest in providing a safe environment for its current and future students by installing blue light emergency telephones across campus. In honor of all she's done for not only the Filipino community on campus, but for the greater campus community, a bench and a tree was dedicated in her honor. And every year, Grace is remembered through an annual memorial service and a scholarship in her name. Thank you.
Hey y'all, I have 4 things. I'll try and keep them quick. USSA is really interested in working with me on a teach-in here about like student loan debt and stuff like that. If you're interested in collaborating, let me know. We'll work something out. This week is National Coming Out and Ally Week. Yay! Queer big event tomorrow here, 7:30 to 9:30. I've said it the last 3 weeks. So come, free Thai food. That's awesome. And then my office is co-hosting a queer women's picnic. You don't have to be queer or a woman to come if you're an ally, but it's a potluck style picnic and we'll be talking about issues that affect queer women, so y'all are welcome to come.
When is that?
It's gonna be on Memorial Glade from 11 to 1.
When?
11 to 1 on Friday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I also had my academic senate committee meeting. We're in the AC requirement one, and they're really excited they really like the ACES program and really want to keep it going. And it looks like there will be an engineering class with an AC requirement soon, which is really, really cool. And then lastly, I was recently appointed to the Chancellor's Advisory Committee on LGBT issues. So let me know if you have any LGBT issues.
I forgot to mention this during my report, but my office is hosting a film screening tomorrow night from 6 to 10. It's Bread and Roses. It's going to be in 250 Donnell. Free food, free drinks, so please come out and watch. It's kicking off our larger workers speak out / awareness month type of event and programmings that we're going to be doing in collaboration with several unions and also some coalitions on campus and other students who have been working on labor issues, largely speaking. So please come out. We're providing food again.
I'm just going to do a very brief, I don't know, maybe not brief, I might go on a little longer, but I just want to point out to everyone here that while the actual federal government is busy running itself into the ground and shutting itself down because they can't collaborate. You all dealt with 2 weeks worth of really challenging bills in one evening on Monday, and this meeting, it's not even 10 yet. And so I have to commend all of you for the incredible amount of collaboration and discourse and cooperation that happens both in and outside of Senate meetings. You all have vastly surpassed, I think, anyone's expectations of how effective a Senate class can be. I can say that my Senate class, by this time of the year, had multiple meetings that either went to or past midnight over things that are vastly less important than some of the things that you all discussed this Monday. So again, I think that even in the face of very challenging discussions that happen in committees, I am consistently impressed by the way that you all are able to come into this space with a level of professionalism and not making this space about demagoguery or spectacles or that sort of thing. You all are incredibly efficient, and I really appreciate that about you. So again, if you're ever struggling with Senate, how time-consuming it can be, how difficult it can be, just remember that you all, in one evening tonight, literally averted a shutdown of the government, in one evening, very nonchalantly, and our actual leaders in Congress are not even capable of doing that. So congratulate yourselves, give yourselves a pat on the back. Thank you all for being so cooperative and bringing that to the table. And so, looking forward to working with you all for the rest of the year. As always, please let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. And thank you for helping us not have an ineffective meeting next week with this impromptu legislation that we passed tonight. I apologize again for this disaster that I had no control over. And the way that pushed us back a week. But thank you all for going with the flow and making sure that we continue to be effective as a body.
Hello everyone. I just want to tell you everybody that this Saturday, the Nigerian Student Association will be having their party at Afro House. So definitely come out. $5 all day to get in. It's gonna be cracking. Yeah, you know. Also, too, I just want to make sure that you all have seen the email that I sent out in terms of the bill I wrote about the blackout. So I've sent it out about 2 or 3 times. So we want to make sure so that way next week it's not like a surprise or anything. So please look out. I'll send it out again tonight when I go back to the library. So please look out. And then if you want to add anything, it was here under new business, but just wanted to remind you that again. So yeah.
So I wanted to let you all know about an event that I think Office of the President and the EVP and my office is working on in conjoining with the month of Worker Speak Out. So today on Sproul and tomorrow on Sproul, we'll be tabling with a whiteboard that says why I support student workers, and you can fill in your own blurb. We're taking pictures for students to support campus service workers, and really through this tough time as they're very scared with this contract implementation. So really showing support and solidarity with them. It's one of many different projects we'll be working on in the month, including a solidarity video and some town halls my office will be holding. So tomorrow from 11 to 3 p.m. I don't know if Alexis is in the room, but Alexis and some other people will be tabling. I mean, you can take a picture. It's really fast, but really everyone would really appreciate it. So your solidarity with campus service workers right now. Secondly, my academic senate report for the campus on academic planning and resource allocation. To keep it really short, we discussed athletics, different issues that faculty had brought up with athletics versus regarding student academic retention and ways we can try and alleviate some of those issues, as well as athletics financial, which President Pepito mentioned in the forum. So if you all have any input on those kind of concerns, especially if you're in contact with any student athletes and how you think it'd be best served to serve their academic retention, I'm very open to that, to bring that to the table to faculty. We also had a presentation from the Director of Operational Excellence, Andrew Surrey, regarding the campus surge services and the issues that we're currently presenting in that model. I know he talked about it a little bit during Senate Leadership Institute. In the interim, the cohorts that they've been implementing have had a lot of issues, frankly. Like, it's just not working out the way they thought they did. So we're trying to deal with different ways we can do that before they move it over to student employees, and kind of the issues that could be remedied before that time. So if you have any questions regarding athletics, financial of athletics, or campus services, let me know.
So, Undergraduate Marketing Association's hosting Kenneth Cole. He's coming in person here on tomorrow, at 5:15 in Anderson. It's awesome. He's going to be talking about, how to get involved in fashion, how to be an entrepreneur, how to start your own business, how to do product development. So you all should go and check it out. He's handing out like a lot of coupons and stuff for his brand. Also, random plug. Startup Fair was today at iHouse. That was hosted by IEEE, Ada Kappa Nu, and CSUA. And they had I think there was like around 30 startup companies there, recruiting for both technical and business-oriented internships and full-time jobs. So it was an awesome opportunity for our students to get involved in the startup world. As well as the startup world, there's involvement to get involved with Citrus right now, which is basically run by the Foundry. It's a space to be able to build things. Like, actually, when we think of startups, sometimes we usually think of coders or we think of mobile app programs, but there are things to be built still. And so you can get involved with Citrus, and you can definitely ask me if you have any questions. Building off of what happened last week, ACHIO, Alpha Chi Omega sorority that Emily and I are involved in, we raised over $500 in Have a Heart Week and selling cookies on Sproul. So bringing awareness to domestic violence, we're very proud of that. As well, for last thing, so my office is throwing a event services one-on-one for our professional organizations within the business community to make sure that we are really facilitating how to plan an event well in regards to having an outside company come in. So hypothetically speaking, if Google came, where would they park? What room would they book? If they would give gifts, the things that we really need. And it's going to be mandatory for our internal vice presidents of the business community. So yeah.
What's good, y'all? So my office this Friday is actually hosting a funding opportunities workshop. We'll be letting community members know it's not only closed to the Black community, it's open to all communities. So feel free to share the event, let your constituents know about this event going on, so they can know about the different grants to apply for, learn how FICOM works, because I know it can be an intimidating process for folks who are new to the ASUC. So make sure to let people know. It'll be this Friday at 3 p.m. at 2066 VLSB. I'll send an email out to the listserv so y'all can know about it, and it's on my ASUC Senate page. Question?
Do you have like a Facebook event?
Yeah, we do have a Facebook event, so I'll attach that link to the email as well.
Yeah, two quick ones. First of all, just a general announcement. I know some of you took me up on it last week or the week before, or 2 weeks ago. If any of you want to come to Hillel Barbecue, it's right before this meeting, 6 o'clock on Wednesday. Come, eat some barbecue, meet members of the Jewish community. All of you are more than welcome every week, any week, all weeks. Just let me know. I'll meet you at the front. Have a good time. Specifically this Friday, kind of in align with Caitlin's announcement, the newest member group of the Jewish Student Union is called JewQ. It's a Jewish, what is it called? QJew, I'm sorry. It's called QJew. It's the queer Jewish group, and they're hosting Shabbat dinner, which is like every Friday. It's the Jewish day of rest. So services start at 6, and then dinner starts at 7. So if you want to come and learn more about the group, or just eat Shabbat dinner, it starts at 7 at Hillel. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So I have two announcements. So the Asian American Christian Fellowship is having their Hot Topic series for their weekly meetings starting in a couple weeks, and they're from 7 to 9 p.m. on Thursdays, and it's basically an outreach focusing on controversial issues like the reliability of the Bible. And my second announcement is Catholics at Cal will have their Taizé Ecumenical Worship at Newman Hall, and it's this Friday, and it starts at 7 p.m.
Sorry, I forgot to mention, I wanted to let everyone know that Zeta Tau Alpha, which is a sorority, the newest sorority here on campus, their national philanthropy is breast cancer awareness, and they actually partnered with Cal Athletics to pink out Memorial Stadium at the next home football game, which is not this Saturday, but next Saturday, October 19th. And they're offering a student special where you can get $10 single game tickets, which you usually can't get single game tickets as a student, and especially only for $10. And that $10 also includes a free t-shirt that's pink. And they're gonna have like all the football players wearing pink, and like people that work at Cal Athletics wearing pink, and I think that's really cool that we're able to like have that on such a wide level.
I would encourage all of us to really think about announcements and do them when it's our turn, just because this could go on indefinitely. So does anyone else have announcements? Are we good? Okay, cool. Thank you all for a quick, efficient meeting. So now that we are at the end of elected official announcements, if there are no objections to adjourning, we will be done at 9:46 p.m. A very quick meeting given the circumstances.
Do you have to take one?
Yes. Before, after, immediately. Something like that. Roll call. Senator Chow. Senator Chung. Senator Feinman. Senator Iwoma. Senator Kong. Senator Lee. Senator Mohabit. Senator Mullen. Senator Woche.
Present.
Senator Pacheco.
Present.
Senator Panya.
Present.
Senator Quinn.
Present.
Senator Rafi.
Present.
Senator Shen.
Present.
Senator Snon.
Here.
Senator Tan.
Present.
Senator Truax. Senator Upadhyayula. Senator Wheat. And Senator Wu. Great. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.